Point? What's up, brother?
No, I don't think so.
Shalom.
Hey, thank you so much.
Hey, what up?
Oh, SNEAKO, you can pull up that chair, baby.
Do you have herpes, by the way?
I don't have herpes. It was a false accusation. False accusation. No, I don't have herpes.
You don't have AIDS?
No AIDS, no herpes. Sit
I asked
down.
them to give me a mask, but we did.
Sit the fuck down, dude.
Do you not have?
I have nothing. I'm clean as a whistle.
All right.
All right.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, SNEAKO?
Good to see you.
Hey, wait. Do I really have
Good to see you too, buddy.
Do I really have a Junos?
No, I don't think so.
Yes, it goes below the septum line. If you turn to the
Wait,
side.
give us the full side profile. Give us the full side. You're kind of hiding it a little.
It's supposed to dip below.
Oh yeah, that's not even hooked.
Why are you on your knees next to me, bro?
Sorry.
Yeah, it seems unnecessary, but
I'm sorry. Hey, Nick. Okay, so how do you feel going into these things? Let me tell you the topics that I have written down, and if you want to add in one more, I think we'll have enough time for this.
I wrote 5 if you want.
You wrote 5?
Yeah, I got 5 good questions.
Okay, well, I wrote, is being gay wrong? We wrote, are men more superior than women, like last time? We wrote Kamala or Trump. And then I wrote transgenderism.
That's not a question.
That's not, okay, so let's not, what other ones do you have?
I think those are all good. I like Kamala versus Trump again. But yeah, are men and women equal? I think those are 2 good questions from last time.
Yep.
Should women vote? I like that one because that's going to start. It's a good question, and it's on topic and it's going to get both sides angry.
Yep.
I added, is it okay to be fat? I like this one. I want to bring up that subject.
That's great.
I
love that.
Is it okay to be fat? And should gay people be allowed to adopt babies?
I like that one too.
Those are good.
It's a good one.
For the 5th one, I wrote, is religious law oppressive? But we could change that to Kamala versus
Hold on.
Trump.
Should a woman put mayo when they make you a sandwich is a good one.
That's it.
Nah, obviously I'm just fucking kidding. I stole that from someone in my chat. All right, well, look, dude, I have to invite you to the server. I'm gonna save the link. Don't leak it on your stream yet. I'm gonna save the link. I'm gonna give you roles so you'll be able to just hop right in. All right?
okay.
All right, let me send the server to you right now. I'll see you in a second.
Okay.
Alrighty. Hey, SNEAKO. Nobody. The cameras are off. Ooh.
Okay.
Nice thighs.
He's not doing it.
Hey, SNEAKO.
Chad, by the way, when they went to do lean for his birthday yesterday, I left.
What are you saying?
I went back to my B&B.
What are you saying?
They hired prostitutes and drank lean to celebrate his birthday.
He's lying. There were no prostitutes and there was no lean.
Drake got him the best strip club. He got him that back room.
All right. What? Oh my God, Wanted. Do you hear that?
I don't know what that sound is.
Nick.
Hey.
All right, go ahead and put your camera on.
Okay. All right, let me do this.
Should we just have our camera off and put it in the top left? I think that might be better, right?
Yeah, I would turn the camera off.
All right, so Nick, I'm gonna turn my camera off when we drag the first girl in here. Okay, how should the format be, guys? Should we basically just have one girl join per, like, how should we do it? What's the way we should do it?
So if you want to do it similar to Jubilee, it was like 20 minutes each.
Yeah, we spend 20 minutes max on each topic. I agree.
Yeah, I think we go one at a time. No, but there's 5 of them, and we want to keep cycling through. But I think a good segment would be if all 5 come in at once to debate. Like, I want to see.
Okay, so all 5 come in at once, and then each girl has like what 2 minutes to basically respond to the question, and they go back and forth.
I think you go 2 minutes back and forth, but
yeah, we just server mute them. Okay, that's fine. All right, let's drag everyone in here. We're gonna have everyone introduce themselves first.
Can you flip this so I can hear?
Yeah, I was gonna say, hold on. Let me text Jay to get. I think we have another headphones we could just set up.
Oh.
Hello?
Hey, that's not a girl. Is that a feminine? Are you a feminist but male? I'm talking about the black guy.
The black guy, yeah.
Oh, he's a feminist?
You would be right. You would be right.
I'm trying to turn my camera on. It's tough.
All right, give me a second.
This looks like a Netflix show.
All right, we're just waiting on the rest.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
We're waiting on a few more. Nah.
Can we put the boobs away? What kind of stream is this? What are we doing? Is this a debate or?
Oh my God, dude! Wait, hold on. Who needs to put their camera on right here?
Free the nipple, Nick.
That's why I even pushed it back so that we could get more boobs.
Can we put on like a sweatshirt or something?
A burqa.
No, they're gonna
A
distract.
burqa. Yeah.
Oh fuck, Liko. But Liko, what if he has a wired headphones? Because I have an aux cord. Oh yeah, I don't think it would work. I think
Very diverse panel.
Is my fucking
Intersectional.
camera-
Yeah, Burnout, we see you. We're just waiting on one more person. Cheyenne and Prismel, who is this right here? They have to put the camera on their names. Hello, Shanna. How you doing? All right, perfect. We're just waiting on one more person to fix their camera, and we're ready to start.
Okay.
Jazz.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get
Hold up.
Jazz. There's no nipples that'll flop out, right?
No, look, it's not.
All right. I don't want to get banned, is all. You know.
I can barely hear her over the boobs.
Okay. Nick, if you right-click each individual's picture, you can turn their volume up. By the way.
Okay. Cool.
All right, I want to get started. We're just waiting on one more person, guys. For now, you guys want to introduce yourself. Burnout, you can go on and start introducing yourself. Talk about yourself. Give a little introduction. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Burnout. I'm Brooklyn-based. I'm an artist and musician. And, you know, I'm here for the feminists. You feel me? Salute.
All right.
That's great.
That's great. Okay. I'm sorry. Your name doesn't pop up, but the oh, there we go. I see you now. Hello. You can go ahead and introduce yourself. Blonde hair girl with dreads.
I hear girl is crazy.
I mean, is that not what she has?
You know, you're absolutely right. I just, you know, I don't know if you're picking up by the description a little bit.
Okay. Go ahead.
Blonde dreads.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hey everyone. I'm Jada. I'm a criminologist. I'm a student, and yeah, I'm here excited to be on.
Why did you decide to join this debate today?
Just because I like arguing. No, I'm kidding. I am really excited to try to change this guy's point of view. I've seen some of his stuff, so yeah.
Perfect.
That's great. Wait, so one more time. What's your name?
Jada.
Jada. And then top left, Burnout. Just call you Burnout?
Yeah, I'm just Burnout.
Okay, great.
Okay, the next girl, if you can please introduce yourself and give a little description and why you decided to be here today. Yep. Yes.
Okay. My name is Christine. I'm a crisis line specialist for Domestic Violence Crisis Line, and I make music as well. But I kind of want to be on here because I think a lot of people's ideas of feminism is like, you know, the Taylor Swift white feminism or the women that wear pink pussy hats. And I just want to say, like, we're not all like
Prisma, that girl has to
I'm,
fix her shit or I'm kicking her, bro. It's ruining the layout.
But I tried to look up Nick stuff, and I got luck everywhere else but TikTok. I looked up Nick Fuentes, and it said against community violence, and Nick Fuentes with a Z against community violence guidelines. I was like, oh my god, they really don't want to show his stuff. But I got to watch a few of your stuff and things like on YouTube, and they love you on Twitter. So yeah.
Okay, guys.
Very good.
Real quick, there's somebody with their camera off. If you guys can just please try to keep it on because it's gonna ruin the layout of the streams for me and Nick. But I appreciate that. Thank you guys. Just have your camera straight. Okay.
And what was your name again?
C.
Christine?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Nice to meet you. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Izaki, you can go ahead and introduce yourself while you're here.
Wait, can you guys see me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see you.
Yes, we
Yeah, I can't see myself. But yeah, my name's Isaac. I'm from Houston. I'm currently a college student majoring in political science. And of course, I know who Nick is. I know who Adin Ross is. I know SNEAKO. I don't agree with a lot of you guys, but I am looking forward to a productive discussion.
Okay, why did you decide to join this debate today?
Well, I've been a lifelong feminist, and I've just recently started getting into the political sphere. I appeared in the last Jubilee video covering this exact topic. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, that sounds great. And in the middle?
We can't hear you. If you can just, I think.
I think Jasmine's.
Jazz.
Your mic's not selected. If you go to the bottom middle of your screen, you can select your okay, someone keeps leaving.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I was trying to put the camera on.
You're good. I think
I kind of can't see myself.
I know on mobile. I think you
You
guys
can see me, but I can't see you.
Yeah. So on mobile, if you guys are on your phones, you're not gonna be able to see yourselves. But I promise you, we can see you. If we can't, I'll say something.
All right.
Oh, okay.
If you guys can, the ones that are on mobile, tilt your phones horizontally, meaning hamburger style. If you guys can,
Right.
so, yeah. But you have to turn off the lock thing on your phone, burnout. And then if you could do that as well, Cheyenne.
Cheyenne, you got it right.
Sorry, I'm sorry. And then
I tried. Oh, I have to unlock it.
Yep, screen lock.
Yeah, screen lock. Yeah.
There you go. And she's
I'm
gone.
so sorry.
It's like a Zoom class.
Sparkle.
Heaven, your mic is muted.
Can we get a mail to help with this, please?
Oh, Jesus, do that.
Guys, he's just
Do that.
he's just
Not
I'm
starting
teasing you.
He's just joshing. He's just joshing around. Okay, in the middle.
Take it easy. Just breaking the ice.
All right, hold on. We can't hear you, Jazz.
Draco.
Jazz, we cannot hear you. Okay.
We can see you. Can't hear you.
We could definitely see you.
And she's doing a strip show.
Well, then I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead, Cheyenne.
My name is Cheyenne. I am from Florida, born and raised, and I am an actor. And I wanted to join this debate to kind of see. I don't really think you're a bad person. I just don't agree on the stuff you say. And I am a feminist, so I want to see if this can be a better outcome for both of us, so we both get a better understanding. Because people just think feminists and they think, oh, she hates men, and that's not true whatsoever.
What movies have you acted in before?
Just local in like Florida.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, are we ready to get started? Heaven, is your mic? Oh, sorry, wait, Heaven, you're good. Jazz, are you fixed?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you're fixed.
No, you're good. We hear you. We hear you.
You're good.
All right, Jazz.
All right.
Go ahead. You can give an introduction and also tell us why you're here today.
Okay, my name is Jasmine Jafar, otherwise known as the 304
Look what movie they
lawyer.
said they play. She played in the-
I was a lawyer
show
and then
you.
I turned
Where is
to an
it?
OnlyFans star, and I'm here today because I think that it'll be
I asked her.
easy
She's an
to
OnlyFans
dismantle
girl. Oh, she's
Nick's
OnlyFans?
talking points.
Oh shit. Okay. How long have you been doing OnlyFans for?
Since 2021.
Oh wow.
We're good.
Okay, are you
You guys
here
can
to
hear me?
debate or are you here for promo?
She's here to debate.
Promo. Yeah, debate.
All right, both. At least you're being honest about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, we're gonna get started here. This is me talking, Adin. Nice to meet all of you. My buddy SNEAKO here has helped me do this thing. I'm not really the best at when it comes to hosting this stuff. He's here today. We're gonna start by asking you guys questions, right? We're gonna go in order. How I'm gonna do it is the first topic, for example, we're gonna do Kamala versus Trump. We're gonna start off with that. I'm gonna have you guys all state who you guys obviously. Well, you guys obviously are a lot of you guys saying Kamala. Tell us why. And then we're gonna give you guys about, would you say, 90 seconds?
Well, I think because we have everyone in the panel, it seems like everybody already knows what we believe on these subjects. We can let Nick give an opening statement, and then we'll just let everybody respond like.
Well, let's go in order.
Yeah, I think it could be free flowing. I think it'd be better to go free flowing to start, and then after 10 minutes or so, then we could switch to more in order.
Okay.
But because we're just starting, we're figuring everyone out. Let's keep it free flowing. And then if it's too many interruptions, then we'll step in. But let's do 10 minutes free flowing and then see how that goes from there and then adjust with more time.
I think to be easier, just raise your hand if you want to speak, and kind of whoever raised their hand after Nick does his little statement, you guys can go off like that. It's just much easier so you guys don't talk over each other. Yeah. So Nick, go ahead and start it off. Trump versus Kamala. Nick, I already know how you feel about that, but you obviously, who would you prefer, Nick, between the two?
All right.
Go ahead.
Sure. Well, first, I just want to introduce myself. For those that don't know, I'm Nick Fuentes, and I agree. I think it's going to be a good debate. I'll keep it civil, and we don't hate anybody. I'm glad. I forget who had said it, but yeah, I don't hate anybody, and I think we do just have a difference of opinion. It's fundamentally just a different worldview. People that are feminist and people that are traditional, and I think they're the traditional viewpoint is slandered, but it's been around for thousands of years, so it's obviously valid. I think on that basis alone, but. With regard to Trump versus Kamala, I do have to put out a disclosure at the beginning. I'm actually not going to vote for Trump, but I do think that Trump would be the better candidate. And, people say, well, how can that be? I talk about it a lot on my show, but for the purpose of the debate, let's just say I'm defending Trump. I do think he'd be the better president. And the biggest thing I think that Trump represents, or what he represented at one time, was national sovereignty. That's the biggest issue that we have going on, which is that the people of the country are not in charge of the country. When you look at who's in charge of the country, it is donors, it is elite media, lobbyists, people like that. And they've been pushing a series of policies. I'm going to talk about 3 specifically that are destroying the country. Mass immigration, legal and illegal, free trade, which is the movement of goods without tariffs or duties or anything like that, and foreign wars, nation building, and regime change in foreign countries. Those are the 3 pillars of what he called in 2016 globalism. And these are all policies that enrich the elite of the country while they impoverish and injure the people of the country. And so for that reason, I'm defending, broadly speaking, Trump and his movement insofar as he is defending national sovereignty and reversing and dismantling globalism.
Cool.
Perfect. Let's start with top left. If your name is Burnout. Burnout, we'll give you 30 seconds, and then we'll go around 30-second intro for each one. Kamala versus Trump, and then we'll keep it free flowing. Burnout, 30 seconds, Kamala versus Trump. Who do you prefer?
I'm not gonna hold you guys. I prefer neither.
Based.
Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm gonna claim
right.
a team.
That's a bad
I
question to start
don't
off
fuck with what Kamala's on. Am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
You could say,
Okay.
and you
I
could,
don't
guys,
fuck
just
what Trump is on. But if I had to give an opinion, let's take a look at both of the presidencies. What do we think we achieved? Where do we think we achieved more? Honestly, I'm gonna keep it really real and think and say that Kamala really, I don't really see what she did other than getting silk presses. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I followed her career before she became vice president. She was doing mass incarcerations for, weed, which was really like typecast.
well, we should
like,
really ask who likes Kamala
you
here.
were just trying to reach that place. So you did what you had to do. So I just feel like when it comes to character, she's not trustworthy. When it comes to character for Trump, definitely not trustworthy. But at least we know he's like who he is. And that's where I stand.
The next one, blonde.
Heaven. Heaven, you're next. Go ahead.
So, I personally am going to be voting for Kamala Harris. I'm not a fan of Trump. I don't feel like he's qualified to be president. Kamala, however, she is qualified to be president. I know she's been a part of some controversial like topics and policies. However, I feel like if we're
Should Nick go ahead, or just
basing
we go around first?
Go around 30
the things
seconds.
that she's done, I'm not basing, but if we're talking about things that she's done versus Trump, I would say
new chat.
she's the lesser evil in this conversation.
Great. All right,
So, yeah,
that's
this
great.
one
Let's
here.
go. Let's go next.
Yeah, so they're both pro-Israel, and I'm obviously pro-Palestine, so neither are ideal, but I truly feel like there's no such thing as somebody that can't be like a good president. But obviously, I choose Kamala. Trump, I don't know. He made a statement talking about like, if he wins, we'll never have to vote again. And that just sounds kind of terrifying to me. Like, is he just gonna like be like, is it gonna be North Korea here or something? But yeah, and then also the stuff with Project 2025 seems kind of terrifying. But yeah, I know we have to keep pushing. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Isaac.
Yeah, so I agree with what the previous people said. I do think Kamala Harris does have a shady history, and I am pro-Palestine as well. And I do not support sending money and ammunition to Israel. However, I'm not a single issue voter, and we live in a 2-party system, so we have to make do with the cards we're dealt. And since the third party candidate has no chance of winning, we have to make 2 binary choices, and I'm going to go with Kamala Harris because she is the lesser of 2 evils, and I also think Donald Trump is the most dangerous president in modern history. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah.
Let's go to the next. Jazz.
Oh.
Hey, you love.
Of exactly. This is. Yeah, you're muted. All right. Should we just kick her? It's been.
No, it's not kicker.
So
back to
cruel.
her.
I'll just come
That's
back
not
to her.
nice.
Let her fix it.
That's not nice.
That was SNEAKO who said that, by the way, not Aiden Ross. Go ahead, Cheyenne.
I feel like that was a sneak. Like,
Well, we're into the debate. We should have the technology going. But Cheyenne, 30 seconds on Kamala versus Trump. Who do you prefer?
I prefer Kamala, but I will say this about Trump. There's a lot of people who hate him, but there's also a lot of people who like him, who think just like him. However, I do not agree with both parties when it comes to immigration. I'm pro-Palestine too, as well. However, whoever was going to be the next president of this country, regardless of how we all feel, we're going to forever fund war. We're going to forever fund all these things. And the thing that really bothers me about Trump is not the fact that he can say whatever he wants. It's the fact that he can get away with it. And that's not something I approve of. That's not something I would want anybody to look up and be like, oh yeah, that's my president right there. I'll be ashamed. Now for Kamala, I do not agree how her upcoming was. It was very shady. But however, I give credit when credit is due. And damn, that lady worked hard to get there.
Okay.
That's how I say it.
So okay. Got it. Now, a lot of you guys are, kind of going off of, I'll be real, like you guys are being upfront. I'll be upfront too. A lot of you guys have some of the same views as Nick when it comes to this stuff. But I want to ask you guys a question. Is there anybody here that genuinely believes that Donald Trump is racist? And if you do, please raise your hand. Okay, so let's.
I'm Asian. All the comments he made during COVID, we all know. I'm sure the chat's
Black jobs.
Okay, so Nick, is that a better topic? Would
my
you say?
African American.
Let's discuss this. Yeah, let's go free flowing from this.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair, I guess. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Trump being racist. If anything, I don't think he's racist enough. That's my opinion. But I have a different definition of racism than you guys. Let's just be honest. Trump is in favor of mass immigration. Trump changed his policy in June and said that he wants to staple green cards to the diplomas of every foreign student that comes to America, whether it's a 2-year, 4-year, graduate degree, doesn't matter. All those green cards are coming from non-white countries. They're coming from Pakistan. They're coming from India. They're coming from China. If you are truly a racist and the thing that, people that are race conscious or white identitarian, what they deeply care about is the racial makeup of the country. The most stark thing that is going on in the history of the United States right now is that the country was 90% white. And within 10 years, it's going to be 50% white. That is a massive change with significant effects. Whether you think it's good, bad, neutral, it's a huge change. And it's happening all over the world. And where does Trump stand on that issue? He is supporting the demographic transition, supporting a less white America. So, in that sense, I would also say, look at the people he surrounds himself with. Tim Scott from South Carolina, among others. If you looked at the RNC, the first day, it was like all black men. It was actually notable. Almost everybody that went up and spoke on the stage, which he specifically created the agenda. It's all black men. They gave a tribute at the very end to the Sikh god Waheguru, which I protested as a traditional Catholic. So, you could give like a ton of reasons, but I think he totally lacks prejudice. I'll give one other anecdote. I went to Mar-a-Lago with Kanye West a couple years ago, and Trump was nothing but nice, still has not disavowed him to this day. If anything, stood by him even though he was canceled and said he's a good guy but misunderstood, but he has a good heart, which is how I see him. So I think that there's not a racist bone in his body, although sometimes I wish he was even a little bit more race conscious than he is. So that's what I would say.
That sounds great. We'll let everyone disagree. You can raise your hand. But first, Jazz, if you could, let's see your mic one more time. You still haven't spoke.
Does it work?
Yes, it works now. Thank you.
Okay, so Burnout, why do you think that Nick is wrong?
Just guys, raise your hand, and Burnout, raise your hand
I
first.
would like to ask him a question. Like, what is your definition of racism?
It's a good question. That's the important definition. Me, I see myself as a racialist. I think that race is real. I think that we have to grapple with it. People are tribal. So I guess the working definition would be, race-based hatred. Does he hate people or have prejudice for people based on their race? Would be my definition.
Hear me now. The next question is, Do you think your definition of racism applies universally to everyone, especially the people who are at the like the hand of racism, like the oppressed or the oppressors? And do you think racism is an oppressive institution? Or do you just think, oh, racism is hating on people? Like,
Well,
what
the
do you think?
definition's totally subjective. I think it's a very ambiguous word. I mean, what does racism mean? Does it mean you believe that race is a determinative factor, or do you think that, like left-wing people do, I imagine you do, based on what you're saying, that race is, one of these categories that's used to oppress people? It's totally subjective, and that's why we have to meet on the definitions. But no, I don't believe. I mean, what exactly is the question? People disagree about what racism means. Absolutely.
Okay, universally, I would say racism is the institutionalized practice of putting a marginalized people down and keeping them down, whether it's thoughts, whether it's speech, whether it's being rejected from a job because of how you look, your skin color. So anything that has to do with your skin color and you being rejected or dejected or objectified or subjectified is the definition of racism to me. And I think that from multiple studies and just living real life, a lot of people will agree with that. So it's not as light as you're trying to make it seem. It's not that at all. And I would consider Donald Trump to sit under the umbrella of being racist, just because of how he moves, his policies, how he deals with people of the opposite race or anybody that is not similar to him.
Like who? Can you give an example?
Anyone. Look how he talks about Kamala. Look how he talks about the African American community. It's not from a place of understanding or relation. It's an outside observation from generalized views that are just stereotypical, really, because have you seen him really be in close contact with anyone who is actually someone who is a clear representation of being an African American person or a person of another race, where he can sit down and they'll be like cool and not have any type of controversy?
Yeah. Ben Carson was in his cabinet. Tim Scott was being considered for VP.
Listen to me. I'm sorry.
Well, let me add one other thing.
Real quick, Nick. Sorry,
yeah,
but Isaac, you were raising your hand for a while. I want to get to you, Isaac. What do you have to say to that? And tell me why you think Trump is a racist.
Yeah, so I think Nick is really good at verbalizing his points to make it seem like he really knows what he's talking about. But racism, the word is not subjective. It's the inherent superiority complex to another race. There's just this clear cut and dry. And I do believe Trump is a racist because he had a civil case, back in the day because he refused to rent to Black people in his properties. He called for the execution of the Central Park Five.
She's ruining my fucking shit.
He had the birther conspiracy. These are things that have been around for years, well-documented cases of racism. So I think the reason you're saying he's not racist is because you have a clear misunderstanding of what racism is. But your opinion is not shared by most of the world, especially people who face racism. Like, okay, a lot of conservatives like to talk about like white racism. So wouldn't you agree that white people are discriminated against because they're white? Or is that not happening?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you believe in racism then, but only for your own people. So
I think that, again, what is the definition? If the definition of racism, as Burnout said, is this systematic oppression of a person based on race, then you would disagree. You would disagree that white people are discriminated against, right? If white people are oppressors?
There's individual racism. That's like a thought. You see somebody outside. And
so what is the definition then? You're making the case that it's very clear cut and there's no ambiguity, but clearly there's disagreement on this panel between you and Burnout even.
Prejudice would be what the word you're looking for, not racism. Prejudice would be the word you're looking for.
Discrimination. But when it comes to like racism is race-based discrimination and prejudice. There's individual racism. That's where somebody sees another person of another race and they, you know, subconsciously do not like them. And there's institutional or systemic racism where there are foundations in place to keep people of color down. I think you're looking at it from a very narrow-minded lens, but I could experience, like, I could show individual racism towards you, a white person. However, I can't show any institutional racism towards you because I'm not in that position of power to do that to you. You understand?
Yeah, I don't. Are we debating whether Trump is a racist, or are we debating whether the definition of racism is universal? Because I think
Well,
there's
in order
broad
to debate
disagreement.
that, we need to, like, I feel
I
like you're
think we're
shifting the goalpost.
debating
Though.
that Trump is
Well,
a racist.
that's the, you know,
Consider
like I
the
said, I think
definition.
you're more arguing whether
real
there's
quick,
an objective
Nick, she wanted-
definition. Let's just agree on what we're talking about. You know, so your argument is Trump is discriminating on people on the basis of race, as in the case of Central Park 5 and the birther conspiracy. Is that right?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay. So, well, I mean, my pushback would be, you know, having met the man and again, just seeing him with black people, would somebody that has racial hatred or discriminates or prejudice against black people appoint black people in his cabinet, pass the First Step Act, commute the sentences of many black felons who had a peaceful drug charge? And hang on one more thing. And secured the release of LeVar Ball, Kodak Black. I think there was one other rapper in Norway or Sweden who was released from prison. I mean, so I think when you put all that together, I don't think someone who is like a white supremacist would be interested in any of that.
Christine, let's Christine, raise her hand. What's your response to that?
Sorry, can I go, please?
Yeah, Christine, the Asian girl.
None of that was helpful to the black community in any way. None of those people are helpful to the black community in any type of way or fashion. He did that as a strategy. Of course, he's going to move strategically. The people who are those fans or who pay attention to the people you named don't really think for themselves. They're very much sheep. And he's going to do anything for the black vote.
Christine.
We've seen that time and time again. We've seen that time from not even talking about Trump, from anybody.
Christine, you raised your hand. You had something?
Yes. I just wanted to say, I think there are levels to racism, okay? I know many of people, well, I'm white, but I have black friends, so I'm not racist. Okay. But so him, like, you know, calling the China virus and like things like that. So what is that? Is that like calling people slurs? Is it just like comedy? It's just funny. It's not racist.
Wasn't it just descriptive? I mean, the virus did come from China.
You're not wrong.
Okay.
I just want to put that out there. I agree. He's not a KKK member.
Yeah,
he's not like a white supremacist. But yeah, like obviously some things he says, some people are going to conceive as problematic and racist. But yes, he can have black friends, but he can still be racist. But I would just argue
I'm more conservative than him on race. I'm far more conservative than him on race. And I view him authentically as someone who does not have racial prejudice. I mean, you got to consider he's a New Yorker. I mean, he grew up with Jews who are an ethnic minority. He grew up in a very diverse city. He did business with a lot of different kinds of people. And you know, even with regard to China, he had a good relationship with the country of China. He respected their leaders. I mean, he said that when I was with him at the dinner, he said we had a great relationship, but we respected each other and so on. They had Mitch McConnell's wife, who is Chinese. She was a Secretary of Transportation, I believe. It was in the cabinet. So it was a diverse cabinet. It was a diverse White House. You know, and you can argue, well, he's cynically doing these things to win the non-white vote. You know, well, if you argue that everything he does is in bad faith, you're sort of arguing that you know what's in his heart. All we can go by is the outward expression. What does he do? What does he say? Based on what he says and does not appear to be a racialist. Does not appear to be a racist.
Like, a president has a duty to be president for all Americans. So, of course, he's going to be diplomatic when it comes to race. But I don't think that's a reflection of how he feels inside. The same way you're saying we can't go off of, you know, because we don't know how he's feeling inside. You don't know how he's feeling inside either. So I do go by actions, and he has many racist actions in the past. But just because he wasn't, you know, he was trying to get to the people of color's votes during his presidency. That's what a president is supposed to do. They're conditioned to reach out to as many people as possible. That doesn't mean he's not racist just because he's doing something that politicians are really good at doing, reaching out to people. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't know. I just the thing is, when it comes to deeds and actions, that's the indicator. That's what we can look at. And, it's like you said, the ones that appear racist, you say, well, that's indicative he's racist. The ones that appear that he's not racist, they say, well, that's just dishonest. It's a lie. So it's kind of like you're picking and choosing the things that are guilty. Well, that's definitive. The things that prove he's not guilty, well, we can't, there's no credibility. We can't trust that. And I would just say, with regard to Trump altogether, I also don't even think it really matters that much. I mean, because if we're saying for the sake of argument, let's say he is just putting on this big display and big show, you say, well, that's his job to be diplomatic. Well, then was he not diplomatic? I mean, was he not? I mean, for example, something like with the birther conspiracy, I don't think there's anything necessarily racist about that. They didn't say that Obama wasn't born here because he was black. They said he wasn't born here because he didn't live in America for his childhood. And I think there are a lot of legitimate questions about where this guy even came from. He lived in Indonesia. His father was from Kenya. I mean, there's questions about Ted Cruz. He raised the same issue about Ted Cruz because he was born in Canada and wasn't born on the land. Ted Cruz, I mean, he's Cuban, but by all appearances, he's white. Does that make Trump a racist against Cubans? I think it's a legitimate question. With regard to the Central Park Five, they're guilty. Let's just be honest. They got off, but they were guilty.
That's misinformation.
That is misinformation.
Disinformation, actually, yes.
This is misinformation.
You look into the case. It's just true.
About the one getting released because all of it was lies.
Yeah, they got let off, but they were all guilty.
Okay, what evidence do you have to back up that claim?
Yeah, there's no.
I don't want to do a debate about the Central Park Five.
Donald Trump, so you trust the judicial system?
If you look
I feel like you're regurgitating things that you haven't really looked into.
If you look into it, you'll find they were guilty.
Okay, can you please just elaborate?
Okay,
I honestly want to hear.
No, please elaborate. I would like to
know. Evidence to go with this because
I'm really not interested in debating the Central Park Five. If you want to say that's racism, I'll concede that, and we could say that's racist.
You just lied, and it's okay, but you got to be accountable.
Okay, let's move on to the next subject. I think that we covered. Hold on, you can hear, correct? I think that we covered racism. Let's move back on to feminism, okay? I think we covered if Trump is racist or not. Let's start with Nick. I'll give you 1 minute. If you can answer, should women vote?
No, absolutely not. Women should not vote. We should repeal the 19th Amendment. We should take it away. They vote for the wrong candidate every single time. Every single time the women vote Democrat, they vote for the wrong person. They vote for more spending. But above all else, I think that women, we have to look at voting as a position of governance. If you're casting a vote, you're determining who should be in the government. And I don't think that women should be in the business of government at all. I think that government and leadership is a domain of men. And I think, honestly, very few people should vote altogether. I think that it's not just exclusive to women. I think that people that have only been in the country for a generation or two shouldn't vote. I think people that are indigent shouldn't vote. I think that young people shouldn't vote. I think probably people that don't own anything shouldn't vote. And I think, we should get back to a system where a vote is cast really as a representation. I think the vote should be cast by the head of a household. I think that if a woman gets married, her political expression is represented in the vote of her husband, in the vote of the head of the household. I don't think that it's women's position to be in leadership over men, over society. And I think that it's completely outside their domain. So I don't think they should vote at all. And I think the evidence is clear. I mean, ever since they got the right to vote, it's been all downhill.
Burnout, you want to respond?
Do you want me to respond? No, I'm kidding. I will, actually. I just want to ask a question to lead you to a point. Being in the state of where we are in this country, knowing that nothing but men have president this country, you think that women shouldn't have a chance to run it? You think you're doing an amazing job?
Yep. 100%.
Are you here for the progressiveness of the country, or are you here to stick to the cookie cutter, average white male leading the world type of vibe?
Totally average white male leading the world. I think we should have exceptional white males leading the world. I think the world was a great place when we had more of that. The more we get away from that, the worse things seem to get. I think white men should be back in charge But that's another
I think
debate.
you
I
guys
think
ruin
women should
everything,
definitely
gonna
not be in
lie.
charge.
I feel
What?
like, I'm not trying to generalize, but I feel like that demographic causes more harm to the country than they ever did good. And that's
I
on a
disagree.
daily basis. That's like from like something as minuscule as a school shooting.
Yeah, but we invented
Also,
everything.
in charge.
yeah,
Like, come on.
you
What
said women vote for the
done?
wrong candidate. So why are you the arbiter of what's considered a wrong candidate?
Also,
You do
when-
know that the same wrong candidates that you're talking about, men vote for them as well.
Yeah, I know.
And all these things. I know you said like some men should vote too, but if you believe in a democratic system where every person's vote should count, I assume so.
I don't.
Why not?
Because I mean, let's take, for example, in this society right now, person turns 18 years old. They don't own anything. They've never had a real job. They just graduate high school. This is a person that's voting for the president of the United States. What do they know about anything? What do they know about trade, the economy, foreign affairs? What do they know about one thing in the whole world? A person that owns a building knows more about the world than literally any 18-year-old alive today. Somebody that knows where water and electricity come from, somebody that pays bills, somebody that owns a company. These are people that know how the country actually works. The problem is people look at a vote as a privilege and they've divorced it from why we have the privilege. And we have the privilege because the privilege is conferred upon us by citizenship. Citizenship, self-government, means you take responsibility for the country. It's not just about you're a total bum or you're lazy or you know nothing and then you get to cast a vote. If you're not really upholding the responsibilities of a free man and a citizen, if you're not enterprising, if you're not a good Republican, by Republican, I don't mean a member of the GOP, I mean a member of the Republic, which is, you know, what this country is, I don't think you should be able to vote. And I think there's a lot of people that, you know, whether they contribute nothing or they know nothing, some of them aren't even literate, some of them know nothing about what's going on. The idea their vote cancels out a business owner, their vote cancels out a lawyer, it's totally insane.
I have one point before I move it on to my other people, but I understand what you're saying. There are a lot of misinformed people when they go to cast their ballot, but I don't think that we should put in a system in place where they don't get to make their voices heard, because the president rules the country. That means every single thing they do will affect every single person in this country. So they should have a right to dictate how their lives are going to be governed, whether they're informed or not. Taking away, so like disenfranchising people because you think they're misinformed, it sets a dangerous precedent.
Okay, Christine and then Cheyenne. Sorry, Christine, then Cheyenne. Why should women vote?
I just ask questions. So we're saying
No, stop with the questions. Like, answer this question first. Why should women vote?
Okay, so if women should they also not work, or is it two separate things? Because you know. Let's
stay on subject. Why should women vote?
I think everyone has the right to vote. I'm sorry. That's all I have to say. Go ahead.
Okay, Cheyenne, why should women vote?
Cheyenne.
Okay, I can go now, please. No interruptions? Okay. I think women should vote is because, first of all, we're a human being before we're anything. And I just think that's a little bit disrespectful to say, well, she can't vote. Women should vote not because they're a human being and they have rights just like anybody else do, but why wouldn't you give rights to the person who birthed you? Doesn't make any sense to me. The reason why we're all here today is because of a woman. And you telling her she can't vote? What's wrong with you?
It's not really an argument. I mean, well, let's start with one. Let's start with one really good argument. The whole basis of a country, really the basis of the country, is that it's able to defend its borders. That's kind of what a country is. A country is a group of people that say this land is our land, and we get to determine what happens within these borders. Now, unfortunately, there is no entity higher than the level of government that enforces these rules. When Russia invades Ukraine, there's nobody that says you're not allowed to do that. If Ukraine can't defend its borders, they lose their land. Those territories are no longer a part of it. So what makes a country is the willingness and the ability to defend the borders and the territorial integrity. If America is attacked from outside or inside, who goes to fight? Who goes to fight the war to secure the realm and defend our way of life and our right to govern ourselves It's the men. It's the men that go on the front lines. It's the men that take up arms. It's the men that are expected to do these things. And by the way, the same is true in a community. If somebody breaks into your home at 2 a.m. with a gun and a baseball bat or whatever, and they say, hey, bitch, we're going to kill you. We're going to take all your stuff. Who do you call? Cops. What do you want the cops to be? You want some 5'4" little girl to jump through the window and save you? Or do you want a big, tall guy to come in and fix and save the day? Same thing goes for firefighters. Same thing goes for public works. So for that reason alone,
if that's the logic you're using, wouldn't you say men should just like be strong and let women make mental decisions? If that's your strength, if you're equating men to physical brute strength, shouldn't women be considered the like brain of it all?
Why would we consider them that? There are no female geniuses.
But you're just talking about men being irrational, being violent. Like, men have to protect women from other fellow men.
Katherine Johnson, who worked at NASA, that's not a female genius?
That's fake. I'm talking about real geniuses. Real geniuses like Isaac Newton, like Galileo. I'm talking about real geniuses, not like hidden figures.
Being geniuses because they are white males, when I guarantee you all of their work could possibly be just copied off of someone else who found it first.
Exactly.
Wait,
they're all copying it from black women.
Because you identify with them. When you can find someone in a different country that knows way more than any of them. I'm not going to.
Like what country?
You're not considering people outside of yourself could like be worth more than or more knowledgeable than you because you have this narrow-minded view on who you deem is the top of the totem pole. But I don't blame you for that. That's probably how your life was set up. That's probably why you don't have any other view than that, and why you can't consider that other people feel differently.
I do consider that other people feel differently.
Choices, but it's giving sheltered. It's giving. Just because I've been here, this is the way it is, and I'm seeing different. I don't like it, so I'm gonna put a stop to it.
It's giving red pilled. It's giving based. It's
you talk about Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton, but the thing is, they were exposed.
I didn't say Albert Einstein.
Okay, but the thing is that the geniuses you're bringing up, the reason why you know about them is because they were in a position where they were able to make their voices heard. A lot of people of color aren't able to do that. So a lot of these geniuses that you're talking about, there probably was a person of color behind the entire operation. But you wouldn't know that because a lot of people of color aren't in positions to take credit for a lot of things.
Who is the person of color behind Isaac Newton?
We can see how that dynamic plays out to this
does
day.
not mean that they're the sole creators of that. Would you not agree?
No, I totally. The idea that, there's sort of like this, like black people of the gaps argument where it's like, if we can find no female geniuses throughout recorded history, if we can find no people of color geniuses throughout recorded history, there's this assumption, well, the white people, they just stole it from some black person somewhere. And we could just safely assume that. No, I actually disagree with that. I think that we know about Isaac Newton because he revolutionized math and science. We know about Galileo because he revolutionized our understanding of space and the cosmos and the world. We know about them because they did these extraordinary things. And when you look at female inventors, if you Google, because I prepared for this debate, if you Google female inventors and you look at any website, top 10 female inventors, in the top 10 is like ice cream maker, miracle mop, coffee filter. You look at the things that men invented, it's like cars, human flight, nuclear bomb, rocket ships. It's like real things. And so to get back to go ahead.
Oh, wait, you don't eat ice cream?
Hold on.
I want to talk.
Wait, one second. Hold on. Okay, we'll go in order because there's getting more interruptions. Start with Jazz, and then we'll go to Burnout, and then back to Isaac. Go ahead, Jazz.
Okay. From your opening statement, first you said that you just don't like that women vote because they don't vote for the candidate you want. But the other thing you said was that women lack leadership qualities. So I'm wondering what these qualities are that all women don't have, and that is a reason to categorically exclude them. Because even if we go based off of we should have informed voters, we should have voters that are paying into taxes or whatever you were saying, there's a lot of women who would meet that threshold and a lot of men that wouldn't. So what is your argument for categorically excluding one group based on their gender when many of them would meet the requirements that you had proposed?
risk-taking, decisiveness, assertiveness,
But
disagreeableness.
all women don't have this. All women don't have this, and all men do. Do you not know how like averages work? Like when something when the one group is better at one thing on average, that does not mean, especially when it's a small effect size. For instance, like agreeableness, that's like a 0.3. So while you can make the statement that on average women are more agreeable than men, it's by such a small amount that when it comes to individuals, like let's say me and you, it would literally be like a coin toss on me being more agreeable than you. That's how that works. That's just statistics. So I think that's a really dim-witted way to view the world. That just because you're looking at group averages and then making individual judgments based on group averages.
But they're categorically different. Men and women are two different categories. They have different hormones. They're wired differently. They're wired for different roles. You know, women.
No overlap? Do you think there's no overlap? Do you think it's just 100%? Men are this way and 100% women are this way and there's no overlap?
It's almost, it's nearly 100%. I do believe
not.
that,
That's just scientifically not accurate.
Well, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I think that. You look at like right now, for instance, we arguably live in the most liberal, progressive, feminist society of all time. Europe and Western Europe and North America, probably the most liberal, feminist, progressive since the beginning of recorded history. We don't have any female billionaires, like very, very few. You look at the top 10 female billionaires, they all got their money from inheritance.
Okay, well, if you want a society that is a meritocracy, though, like let's say like 15% of Nobel Prize winners are female. Would you rather have a society where it's 0? Like, wouldn't my society?
Yeah, but they're giving them to like Malala.
The best of both genders. Even if less women do X thing than men, wouldn't we want the best of the best? And for those women that can meet that standard, you don't want them to be included just because they're women. It doesn't seem like how you would operate in a real meritocracy where we're trying to get the best of the best for any field that we're going for.
I mean, that's really a separate argument. The argument I'm making is that when you look at society, if your argument were true, that on average, men and women are equally as likely to be agreeable or not agreeable, risk takers or not risk takers, etc., then you would probably see a more substantial proportion of the super competitive people would be women. But that's not true. The most super competitive
profession, lawyers, half of are women. I think half the medical professions are women. Women owned businesses are less likely to go bankrupt. So there are certain fields where women are either surpassing or operating equal to men. And again, if you want a meritocracy, you want people who can survive in this economy and have a booming business, whether that's a man or a woman. Why would you categorically exclude an entire group of people based on a very, very small difference in group averages?
Well, it's not group averages. We're talking about a difference in wired temperament. 2, it's not about excluding them from all of society. I think that women should be able to work. The question is, should they be able to rule? Should they be able to govern? And I think ruling and governing is a very particular kind of science that women are just not suited for categorically. The same way that women are not suited for being, I think everyone would agree, unless you're ridiculous, women are not suited to be soldiers. Women are not suited to be police officers. I think for all the same reasons, women are not suited to govern and rule because those do require very particular combinations of traits that, although I don't think they've never been expressed in women, I think it is completely rare. And when we're talking about a country of 350 million people, we're talking about women voting, more women vote than men. So, arguably, maybe you could get a once-in-a-generation female leader. I'll reserve the possibility, that can happen. But we're talking about women as a rule in a system participating in governance, and I think that's totally wrong. Just like, if you watch Game of Thrones, there's like that big chick is the knight. Yeah, there might be like a giant woman who could be a cop, but I don't know that we would say, oh, the cops should be half women and half men. Just like I think the voters shouldn't be half women and half men.
This is why it's important to look at those categories and see how big that effect size is and the difference. So with things like physical strength, men are overwhelmingly physically stronger than women. When it comes to things like agreeableness, that difference is much smaller and there's a ton of overlap between men and women. So for your brain to be so narrow-minded to say, oh, I'm going to look at every categorical difference. If men are stronger than women on average and men are less agreeable than women on average, I'm just going to pretend that this is 100% and there's no nuance and there's no overlap and there's no difference between the amount that a man is stronger than a woman versus how agreeable one is or how smart one is or how educated one is, especially when women actually are surpassing men in a lot of these fields, especially education. That's just not a reasonable way to look at life or the data.
Okay, we're circling. So I want to hear from Heaven and then Christine because you haven't been speaking much. Heaven, do you have anything?
Oh,
Speak louder.
Your mic isn't working. Let's hear from Christine while you fix your mic, Heaven.
Okay.
I don't have much to add. I'm sorry. I think we
guys.
I want to ask you specifically because you didn't get to give an argument earlier.
Yeah, I have questions, but you said that they were
but we're going to stay on subject. So the subject is why women should vote. What's your argument for why women should vote?
She already said it.
I think everyone has the right to vote. I'm sorry. That's it. I don't have to justify it other than that.
Okay, Cheyenne, do you have anything?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I guess I go. Yeah, so I feel like women should be able to vote because I feel like anybody in this country who is a citizen, who is a part of the way that America operates and flows, should have a say-so on how policies affect them. I feel like it's not fair to give the power to one specific gender based off of things that you've pretty much just pulled out of the air because you don't have facts for any of the things that you claimed tonight. I just think that isn't fair. I don't think that's logical, and I think even the way you're debating tonight is showing that men should not rule or control anything just because you don't even have the facts to back up stuff you're saying.
Okay, can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think you made a good point. You said everyone who is a citizen should vote, and I agree, but it's really a bigger question about why do we vote? I feel like people take it for granted that, well, everyone's here, everyone has a right to vote. Well, why? When the country was founded, there was the spirit of citizenship. There's a spirit of self-governing. There's an enterprising spirit. And it doesn't just mean, you're kind of just like a regular Joe. You really worry about yourself. You don't really know anything. And then you get a right to determine who runs the country. When the country was founded, there was only one body in the whole federal government that the whole country directly voted on. Does anyone know what that is? Okay, case in point, it was the House of Representatives. The Senate, senators were appointed by the state legislatures. The president was chosen by the Electoral College, which was chosen by the state legislatures. Supreme Court was nominated by the president, confirmed by the Senate. It was only one federal body that they said was for the people. And even then, citizenship was restricted, and not even on the basis of race. It was restricted really on the basis of class. And there was the idea that, we have self-governance, but self-governing isn't just about casting a vote. It's also about being responsible for society. And when I look at the people that are responsible for society, I think about property owners, business owners. I think about people that are civically engaged. They're engaged in their community. They're engaged in, and sometimes women fall in those categories. And, maybe that would be okay. I guess it depends. But maybe the fundamental assertion that should be questioned is that everyone has this right to vote. They take for granted, oh, I'm born, I get a right to vote. I actually don't think that leads to good outcomes. And that's why our elections are now these ridiculous turnout games where it's just pumping TV and radio with low IQ attack ads, literally busing people to the polls. It's like a month they harvest ballots, getting people to just show up and sign their name on it. This is not conducive to good governance. That's not what citizenship looks like. And so I think once you understand that, then you start to ask yourself, well, what would be the categories of people that should vote? And I think when you consider the temperament of men and women, I think that one of the ways you draw the line is you say men should vote. I think another category where you draw the line is people that own things, people that own property or own a business. I'm sorry, I don't think renters and wage earners, I don't think they really have enough stake in the society to be able to cast a vote. I think maybe you throw in a category like whether a person's a parent. I'm not a parent, but maybe that's another category. If you have kids, at least you have a stake in the future. But we really need to get back to thinking about voting as part of citizenship, part of being self-governing, not just this thing where everybody gets it like they get, anything else, like it's a big free-for-all.
One thing.
Isaac, go ahead, and then we're going to go last comments and then the next subject. Isaac, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I just think that's a really terrible argument because you're bringing up temperament. But 90% of all the wars in the world have been done by men because men hold the power. A lot of the societal issues could be attributed to men. So when you're saying things about temperament, men have bad temperament too. Men and women are very similar when it comes to the way their brains work. So to take away the rights of one side of the aisle while leaving it for the other, that shows a lack of temperament on your behalf as well, which is just proving our argument. And also, if you cut off the voting rights for 50% of the population, don't you think that would have a negative effect on society? I don't think you say that's the best for society, but how is disenfranchising half of the entire population good for society? Tell me.
I think it would be. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and also, why should 50% of society have a say so for the whole, like the majority? That's crazy. Like a man shouldn't. That's crazy that you think that a man should have a say so on how things affect women's bodies, how people live, how people express themselves. That's no, that's not. You can.
Can I make a last statement on that?
Go ahead.
In order to create a society, you need people. In order to create a person, you need both men and women. How can you speak on something like that and think that the other input is not worthy or is not valuable? You can't even make a baby without a woman. You can't even make a city to govern without a woman, and you're trying to take away the whole voice of a whole marginalized, not even marginalized, probably the most important factor in a society. Because who's raising these children? Who's carrying these children? Who's building a society? Who's under you that you think you have all the authority and right to govern all of these people, but they're the people who's putting in the work for you to be able to sit up there and speak so confidently in what you're saying.
Perfect. I'm going to go on to the next subject here. Let's do the last one from Jazz, and let's go on to the next subject, okay?
Yeah, I just feel like it doesn't make. If he's saying, okay, the threshold should be property owners, pays taxes, civically engaged, educated, and has kids, but then all of a sudden all women are excluded for this, although so many women meet this threshold, just because you're making a categorical exclusion because of a group average, a very small one on temperament. It doesn't even align with anything else you're saying. If you have these requirements to get in, it should be, if you meet those requirements to vote, you should do it despite your gender or race or anything. It just seems like you just want to categorically exclude women just because they're women, based on a false perception of how all women are, because again, you're looking at a very small difference in group averages.
Great. Let's go on to the next subject. It's we're starting.
Can I respond? Three people just went.
Go ahead.
I'll be quick about it. I'll just say I think that, and here's another point I'll just throw out there. Power and decision-making is distributed in the society in different ways. And I think Burnout actually made a good point. Women do raise all of the people, or ideally they should. I think that the mothers should raise their babies. I think every baby should be raised by their mother. That's a massive amount of power and influence. And women are a huge influence on their husbands. How a man goes out and lives his life is totally influenced by a woman. And I think the idea that voting is the end-all be-all of the expression of political power is just wrong. And I think that in the same way that men aren't trying to push babies out of their butts, I think women shouldn't be fighting in the wars. In the same way that men aren't breastfeeding the kids, I think women shouldn't be in politics. I think that politics is an extension of war. I think that governance is leadership. And I think that temperamentally, not group averages, categorically, women are just not suited for that sort of thing.
Sounds good. Let's move on to the next subject. And to spice it up, let's start with Isaac. I want to see what your answer is. Isaac, should gay people be allowed to adopt babies?
Yeah, I believe that as long as you have the ability to be a good parent, whether you're gay, straight, no matter your sexual orientation, you should be allowed. Pretty cut and dry.
Okay, anyone else before Nick goes? Should gay people be allowed to adopt babies? Heaven, do you have anything? Burnout?
I
I
believe
feel
so. Yeah.
that yeah, I feel like anybody that has the heart to be a parent, the patience to be a parent, should be afforded that right to experience parenthood and having a child and having that family that they have always wanted.
I feel like there's no evidence to show that children that grow up in single or same-sex couple households fare any worse on a majority of metrics or on any metric. And on top of that, I feel like if you're looking at the best interest of a child that's needing to be adopted and a family that's wanting to adopt them, how could you possibly say that this child just should live without parents instead of going to gay parents, especially when there's no evidence that doing so would be more detrimental to the child, even in a heterosexual relationship, much less no parents?
Christine and then Cheyenne, do you have anything? Should gay people be allowed to adopt babies?
Yes, absolutely. I can't. Just for me, it's just I don't know, but there's plenty of unfit parents that are heterosexual. Ones that literally lose their kids to the system because of drugs or whatever it is that they're on. If there is a gay couple that has no criminal record and they can be fit parents, I don't see why they can't be parents if they want to be parents if they're not hurting the child.
Cheyenne, what do you think? Should gay people be allowed to adopt babies?
Yes. Anybody that wants to be a parent, it shouldn't matter what their sexual orientation is or race. So I think that a child deserves two-parent households, but it shouldn't matter what sexuality they are, because a kid deserves parents. That's how I feel. So yes.
Nick.
Well, wait, hold on.
Did everybody go? Heaven, you went? Did everybody respond?
I didn't. Yes, absolutely.
You have to give an argument.
Period.
This is a debate. So why, besides period, why should gay people be allowed to adopt children?
I believe that your sexuality shouldn't disqualify you from having that experience and raising up a person into this world that could be beneficial rather than leaving them to fend and fight for themselves. Because as we know, orphans don't have anyone. So it's better to give them someone than nothing, I would say.
Great. Nick, should gay people be allowed to adopt babies?
No, totally not. Absolutely not. And, probably it stems from a disagreement. I'm sure everybody on the panel thinks that homosexuality is fine. I think it's wrong. I think it's a perversion. And I think it's sort of like the question asking, should you let alcoholics adopt kids, or should you let drug users adopt kids, or something like this? And let's just be very clear about what we're talking about. The way that homosexuals are portrayed in the media and like Modern Family and stuff is like, they're just like us. They just kind of like they have a different preference. Some people like hamburgers, some people like pizza. And so it is. But let's just be very clear. It's like 3% of the population that identifies as exclusively same-sex attracted. It's a very low percentage. It's going up over time, and you have people that identify as they're flexible or they're, not non-exclusively heterosexual or something like that. But the number of people that identify as exclusively same-sex attracted is exceedingly low. We also find that there's a lot of things that overlap with that. Drug abuse, perversion, pedophilia. It's like half of all the pedophiles are gay men. They're like 3% of the population. They're half of all the pedophiles. And then you look at things like monkeypox. How did monkeypox come to America? It's because they all went on an island. They were all having sex with everybody else. It was a giant orgy. And then they all came back to America and had sex with everybody here. And then they gave everybody monkeypox. This is how the AIDS crisis started. And nobody wants to talk about it, but it is the ugly reality. Gay men know about it. What's that?
Is that facts? Is that factual information?
Those are 100% facts.
Can you give us a source?
Wait, don't straight people spread diseases too?
Okay.
Not as much as the AIDS phenomenon was
Can
a
you,
gay
can you
phenomenon
fact check that?
in the
Like,
80s
Wait,
and
I don't
90s.
understand the 3%.
I wanna know your story.
And if I could just finish, I promise I'll wrap it up and then he can
Before you
respond.
guys continue, we'll go one at a time. Nick, if you could finish your opening statement.
So the dirty secret that nobody wants to talk about is that homosexuals, there's a huge overlap with perversion and other dysfunctional behaviors. I'm sure there are homosexuals out there, maybe, that their only sin is sodomy. Their only sin is sodomy and something like that. And maybe every other way, they're fine. And I think that's very rare. But overall, the gay community has a lot of those problems. And I think the question fundamentally is, what is best for the child? You know, people say, well, everyone has a right to have kids. And something consistent in the debate is this, you know, we have rights. We have to think about what we're actually doing here. We have to think about where the rights of other people are. You know, do children have a right to grow up in a home with a moral fabric, you know, where it's a man and a woman in a marriage, as opposed to a single person, gay people, you know, other kinds of issues going on in the home. I actually do think in some cases, children not being adopted is better. And obviously we could think of examples of where that would not be the case. And I think that also applies to homosexuals too.
Okay, let's respond one at a time. Do you have anything, Isaac?
Yeah, I think the main point of this debate is kind of there can't really be an agreement or a conclusion reached because we have a fundamental disagreement over what's moral. I think you see homosexuality as a sin. You call it sodomy. So from your perspective, people who are immoral should not raise kids. And in that sense, I agree that people who are immoral should not raise kids. However, I do not view homosexuality as immoral, as do many other people on this panel. So that's pretty much how it is. I don't think we will be able to reach a consensus on this, to be honest.
Do you have anything else? Burnout, Heaven, Cheyenne, anything?
I just want to know, what basis do you base homosexuality in relation to alcoholism and pedophilic nature? Because those are very different things. Like, those are hugely different things, and that is a heavy statement to make in a comparison. To call someone who is a drunk and a danger to children the same as someone who just likes the same sex, that's a bit insane to me.
Well, the argument went like this. People said that everyone who wants a kid should be able to adopt a kid. And I said, well, obviously that's not true, because we wouldn't, if an alcoholic wanted a kid, we wouldn't send an adopted child to them to raise them, because we see there's obvious problems. What's that?
We didn't say that. We said
I said that.
We did not say that anybody should be able to adopt.
We never said
Well,
anybody.
your argument was, you can roll it back, but the argument was, people want to be parents, they should be able to be parents. And I think you agree that some people, that's not even if they want to be parents, that's not enough, because there's certain qualifications. We have to consider whether they'd be good parents.
Would you not let people in a rural poor community adopt children then? Because they have high, if you're looking at averages, they have high rates of alcoholism and drugs. Would you not have people in middle America, rural communities that all are dealing with this opiate crisis? Would you not let any of them adopt children? And again, just because when you said earlier, oh, it's rare, it's only 3%. Like, yeah, maybe 3% of the population is born with 4 fingers instead of 5. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be parents, just because it's not as common. So I don't understand, just because you're saying that. And again, there is actually no evidence that children that are grow up in same-sex households fare off any worse, whereas there is evidence that children growing up in poor rural communities fare off worse. So with your argument, would you not let those people adopt children?
Again, the argument isn't about averages. The argument isn't whether someone is statistically likely to be one thing or the other. What I said is,
poor rural
okay, can I finish my reply?
Yeah.
So as I'm not sure it's Isaac. I think Isaac said a moment ago, we're not really going to come to an agreement, because if you think that being gay is not immoral, and I think it follows, if you don't think it's immoral, you probably would say that gays are just people that have a higher risk factor, for example, of those things, just like other people, just like people in Appalachia or something, and therefore you wouldn't categorically exclude them. What I'm saying, though, and I'm making this argument by painting a picture, is that homosexuality is immoral, just like being an alcoholic, just like being one of those other things. And it's an immoral behavior. I think in the same way that someone that abuses alcohol shouldn't have kids, someone that abuses themselves in a sexual way shouldn't be having kids. The picture I'm painting for people who might be skeptical is just to kind of introduce it. When I'm saying they shouldn't have kids, I'm not saying, oh, well, they shouldn't have kids because I'm prejudiced or a bigot. I'm saying it's wrong, and it's a good heuristic that it's wrong because it's being misrepresented in the media and in society as something like you have men and women. There's half men, half women, and men and women are basically, they all are after the same things. You got black people, white people. White people, black people are, born a certain way, blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is about homosexuals being 3% of the population, it is anomalous. It's non-normative. And so there's something about that where I feel like people don't really recognize it's such a tiny minority. And then you start to think, well, are people born gay and straight like people are born white and black, or men and women? Or are people born a certain way and maybe they're born with a certain inclination and then maybe it's environmental? In some cases, it's induced by assault or trauma, or it's induced by certain environmental factors in the home, like an overbearing mother. And then you start to create a profile that homosexuality is really a pattern of behavior more than an identity. And that's why it tends to flow into heavy promiscuity, drug use, perversion, all these things, because it isn't just like a preference that is kind of arbitrary. It's a pattern of behavior that results from kind of a very specific combination of factors. And so that's the picture that I'm trying to paint. But if you believe, yeah, go ahead.
Couldn't you say the same thing about like people with your worldview? That's a very fringe, small minority. Oh, maybe your mother was this way or that way, and that's why you believe X thing you believe. Your worldview and your fringe group of the internet is a very, very small minority. I would never say that's the reason you guys shouldn't be able to adopt kids. And again, if you're just going to say homosexuality is immoral, I don't like it, that's why, fine. But what you're saying is, oh, they have overlaps with drug use and this and that. When again, those poor rural communities, they have way bigger overlaps, and we have actual statistical data that children that grow up in those communities end up faring worse, whereas children growing up with same-sex couples do not. So if you just want to say I don't like homosexuality because it's gross, fine, but I don't know where these other arguments are coming from because you're not being consistent with them.
Do you know any gay people?
No, I don't think I do.
Do you think gay people are human?
How do you know so much
from a
about
perspective of someone that doesn't know the LGBTQ community? You're just speaking about your own experience by maybe media, maybe your own closed-minded view. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that if you're trying to make the case that homosexuals are not promiscuous, that they don't abuse drugs, that they don't like to party, that there's not immense perversion, I think you don't know what you're talking about on that case. I mean, it's true. Maybe I don't have credibility on the subject because I don't know them and that lifestyle intimately, but I think you'd be mistaken if you're arguing that.
Can I?
And people can decide for themselves. Yeah, go ahead.
The description of the character you just gave also sounds like your average frat boy. So where's the difference in that, baby? Like, make it consistent.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a lot of that with frat boys, but I also think that the numbers are just extraordinary. I mean, for example, there's studies that have been done about homosexuality. I'm thinking of one that was done in San Francisco. It said that 95% of them are non-monogamous and promiscuous. And the numbers about their lifetime sexual partners, it's huge. It's in like the hundreds. It's just like a totally different category than heterosexual people. And I think that's kind of the point I'm getting at. I am making the case that it's immoral. And I'm trying to paint a picture for you where it's not like we're kind of starting in the middle of the story, where it's like you got straight people, you got gay people. Is it fair to discriminate? And I'm saying, well, we can't really start in the middle of the story. We kind of have to go back. And it's like, well, where are the gay people really coming from? Is it just like a roll of the dice? And just like everything else, one person's one way and one person is another? Or is homosexuality a non-normative behavior? It's a deviant behavior. It's a form of acting out or indulgence or a defect like other things. A predisposition to alcoholism, a predisposition to other things. I think there's a good case to be made based on the fact that it's such a small percentage, and they are given to these extreme and I think antisocial behaviors.
Isaac,
And,
go ahead.
you know,
People have
that's
the
just,
ability to choose their sexuality. Why would they? What benefit would they have by being gay?
I
When
agree.
society condemns them. Society does not see them as equal to straight. Like, in order for somebody to become a minority without any benefit, it would have to be like crazy. But you might see gay people as crazy. I don't know. That seems like something you believe.
I agree with you. I don't think it's a choice. It's just like I think a lot of things aren't a choice. I think that, you know, there are people that are born as sociopaths. There are people that are born with the predisposition of violence or alcohol. People are unfortunately born, they're kind of loaded up with a lot of things. And how much of that is genetic and environmental? I think it's a difficult line to draw. And I'm willing to say, for the sake of argument, I think very clearly there are some people with a predisposition. I think for a lot of people, it's very environmental. Ultimately, though, no one makes a conscious decision. I agree with that. The question is, though, doesn't make it any less moral. You know, some people are born, pardon the comparison, but some people are born with a predisposition for violence. And would you say, hey, well, you know, some people are black, some people are white, some people are women, some are men, some people like to kill people and some people don't, and they're equally valid? Like, no, you'd say, well, one is immoral, maybe they can't help it, but it should probably be regulated by society. I think the same is true with homosexuality. I think the same is true with I think the same is true as hypersexuality in heterosexuals. I think a lot of that should be regulated.
Would you say then that black people shouldn't be able to adopt kids because they're technically more likely to be predispositioned towards violence because they commit more of it? If that's what you believe, or would you, like, when you say, okay, alcoholics shouldn't be able to adopt kids, would you actually see that the person that wants to adopt a child is an alcoholic, or would you exclude them because they come from a region like poor rural America where a lot of them are alcoholics? Because for some reason with gay people, you're like automatically, because there's this overlap between or they have higher rates of drug use than whatever other demographic you're comparing them to, that we're not now going to look at them individually and think, are you an alcoholic? Are you a drug addict? But I have a feeling that when it comes to other groups, you would actually want them to show, okay, this person shouldn't be a parent because they are using drugs, not because they come from an area or that they're white, or whatever, that makes them more likely to do so.
Yeah, again, I think you're kind of getting hung up on, like, I'm not saying it's a statistical risk factor. I'm not saying homosexuals are more likely to do X, Y, and Z, although they are, and therefore they shouldn't be able to adopt. I'm saying homosexuality is wrong. I said, and we know it's wrong because it really is a pattern of behavior. People that exclusively engage in homosexual sex, that's an act, it's a lifestyle. It is a way of living. Just like some people go and drink every day, some people, you know, some men have sex with men and some women have sex with women. And I'm saying that categorically, those people should not have kids. Just like categorically, alcoholics shouldn't have kids. Just like categorically, drug abusers, I should say, shouldn't be able to adopt kids. No, black people, by virtue of existing, don't necessarily have a predisposition to violence. But, you know, black people that are engaged in gangbanging, because, you know, I worked at UPS one time. Luck of the draw. I was the guy that was training me was black, and there was another black guy alongside me, and they're like, you know, you gang bang? Yeah, gang. They're from Gary, Indiana. They're from the South Side. Luck of the draw, I guess. Like, that lifestyle shouldn't be able to adopt. The same thing with homosexuals. And so,
if there was data that showed that, or if you believed, even though, because there is, that showed that these children don't fare off any worse with same-sex couples that engage in whatever lifestyle you're talking about, does that matter to you? Or is it just, you just don't like it, it's wrong, even though it doesn't seem to have any negative impact on children?
No, because I think that, you know, and this is a point I think is interesting. You're always pushing the data, and, you know, it's a very strong argument when you come with data. I don't think that we get all our knowledge empirically meaning scientifically. We set up a hypothesis, we collect data, we measure it. I think we also get knowledge rationally. I think we're also able to, you could call it common sense, you could call it logic. I think we also get information other ways. That's how we get philosophy. That's how we get the idea that, you know, it's probably wrong to sodomize because the natural end of sex is reproduction. That's something that you can't determine that through a study or scientifically. You determine that rationally. And so I think that, you know, data can be manipulated. You could play with the numbers. I'm really uninterested in the data. I think it's immoral. I think people that grow up in a household being taught sex can be had between two consenting people or many consenting people or men and men. I think it's wrong. I don't think people should be brought up in that kind of environment.
So basically,
we're gonna hold on.
Data.
What's your Jazz? We're gonna let you go. I want to hear from Isaac, and then we're gonna move on to the next subject because Isaac, it seems like you have a moral quandary with Nick, but let's go one more thing from Jazz.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so you're saying ignore all the data, ignore the actual evidence that people have gathered looking at children and how they fare off in different environments. Ignore even personal experience, because it seems like you don't know, you don't hang around a lot of same-sex couples, but just whatever you feel, you think, based on Catholicism and whatever you're putting together, that should be the metric that all of society should go by. Not facts, not even lived experiences, just what you feel. Okay, that's all.
Well, hang on. It's not about what I feel. Again, it's where do we get knowledge? Where do we get things like math itself? Where do we get things like, even the conception that we shouldn't kill people, that life is good and death is bad? These are things that we can't necessarily derive from empirical methods alone. And, you can say, well, we should just go by your system. You have a system too. You're arguing a moral system as well. People don't think of it in that way. But when you say things like, well, everyone should have rights and everyone should be treated fairly, that is a moral position. Where are you getting that moral position? I'm getting a moral position from the Catholic Church. We're getting it from philosophy. We're getting it from revelation. We're getting it from natural law. So we're both arguing a moral position. Let's not pretend like one position was objectively proven true by a study. Saying that fairness is good is not an empirical statement. That's not a scientific statement. It's a moral statement. And, moral statements are created by moral systems, by people. So we're, I don't think it's fair to say.
Can I say that?
Stop. I'm going to go to Isaac. Isaac, what's your response to Nick's moral position?
Yeah, I just think my dilemma is that on paper, there's nothing wrong with his belief that immoral people should not adopt kids. I just think that what's moral is subjective. I do not believe that because you're homosexual, you're immoral. And I do think that even if we're using this really narrow-minded view of morality, once you agree that there are people that you find immoral that are good at what they do, can we concede to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just because you view someone as immoral does not mean they don't have the ability to do what's needed. So if someone is immoral but is still a good parent and the kid ends up, achieving greatness because they had good parents, why would you, be against that? I don't understand.
Because the first...
Hold on, let's Nick respond and then Burnout, you can go.
In my opinion, I think that the thing that a parent has to do first is give their kid a moral education. We look at the society today, it's falling apart because kids aren't getting a moral education. They're getting taught calculus and science, and then they can read and they can do a lot of things, but they're not getting a moral education. They're not being taught, for example, you look at crime. You can argue a lot of different things about crime. A big factor is there's no fathers. A big factor is people aren't telling them right from wrong. I think that's a big problem with why hookups are so unsatisfying. Relationships are so unsatisfying. We find people are so unsatisfying. People we find are selfish. People we find are uncaring. It's because there's a true moral failing, and it stems from really bad parents. Single parents, selfish parents, divorced parents, parents that are more interested in other things, parents themselves that didn't have a moral compass. Such a huge, and we say narrow-minded. I don't think it's narrow-minded. It is more narrow. I do have a more narrow version of morality. I think our responsibilities go further than just don't harm other people in obvious ways, which seems to be the consensus. It's like, as long as you're not hurting somebody, it's like, but, aren't we hurting children when their parents get divorced? Aren't we hurting people when, we engage in decadent, irresponsible behaviors? Aren't we hurting ourselves? Is there anything better about hurting ourselves than hurting somebody else, and why? So it is a more narrow version of morality, but I think that's what's needed.
Burnout, go ahead, and then I have a question for Isaac.
All right, to elaborate more on this straight edge path that you're thinking when it comes to morality or whatever, I would start with saying that morality comes from being mortal. No? Can we all agree on that? Being a human being and living and having experiences dictate your morality. And morality really is not a singular thing. It doesn't have to do with an individual. It's community based, because morals are held up around what is deemed acceptable and what is deemed not acceptable. And for you to sit here and make statistical statements and not consider that morals have a very big part in to do with your experience as a human being and how you physically inhabit spaces in your body and spaces where you don't really know what's going on, you're just regurgitating information, is kind of like, we all know is narrow-minded, but it can't be the definitive factor or like the last end-all be-all, because life is full of complexities and you're not considering any of them. You're taking your information that someone has told you, not anything that you have experienced firsthand, and saying that's the end-all be-all and this is what we should go by, when there's no proof that this is the best way to go.
Great. Isaac, I want to ask you, where does morality come from?
That's actually a good question. I think morality is a human construct. A lot of people could say it comes from Christianity. I think Nick would agree with that. But I also think that there are things that lean into the more subjectivity of it all, because there are things that Christians deem moral that I deem immoral. And there are things that, I deem moral that Christians deem immoral, like abortion. So I don't think morality, we don't have enough evidence or enough understanding to know exactly where morality comes from. And that is why we can't make society-based things on subjective moral values, because just because you think something's immoral does not mean the next man thinks something is immoral. So we need to be a little more complex with that. And I don't think, that's why I think you're narrow-minded, in the sense that you're not considering all the complexities of morality and the subjectivity around morality. You're just going by your own sense of morality, rather than taking into account the rest of the world. That's just my opinion.
Well, you haven't answered the question directly. Where does morality come from?
We don't know where it comes from. Nobody knows.
Okay, do you have anything from Cheyenne? And then from Christine, you haven't spoke much during this subject. Do you have anything? We'll move on to the next one.
Yeah. My parents are pretty conservative, I would say. And I just feel like when you say that, gay parents will be like a bad example and such, I don't personally get it, because I was raised by like similar beliefs. Like, my parents have similar beliefs as you. Like, they told me, like, growing up, like, you better not like girls and things like that. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, I form my own opinion about what I think is right, should be okay, and equality and things like that. And so I think, like, gay people raising kids or straight people raising kids, they're still going to form their own beliefs. That'll be against what you believe. So,
Cheyenne, is morality subjective or objective?
dog.
It's subjective.
Okay, where does morality come from?
We don't know. But what I can say, as a person who grew up in a church, because both parents are Christianity, that's just, they've been told me, you can't be gay, you better not be gay. But to say that just because someone may be different, they're not as human or as qualified to be parents, or as a woman, she's not qualified to do anything because she's a woman, is kind of a bit biased and a bit weird. Don't you think?
Okay, let's move on to the next subject. It seems we're starting to circle a little bit. And I would just say, going forward, if the participants, instead of asking questions, we would like to hear your arguments instead of reverting back to Nick. I'm hearing less of people's stances and just asking Nick questions. So if you could state your arguments a little bit more. We'll move on to the next one now, and I'll start with Nick, because you started with Isaac last one. Nick, is it okay to be fat?
No, it's gross. And I sympathize, okay, because I'm gaining weight at a rapid pace. I like to eat, okay? I like eating. I hate working out. I hate exerting myself. So I say it, you can't really call me a hypocrite, because I'm getting there, and I struggle to stop the trend. No, but it goes along with everything else we've been saying. It really is a fundamental question of What do we consider moral behavior? Because there seems to be a consensus these days. It's like this Reddit mentality. It's like a very compassionate mentality. People say, as long as you're not hurting somebody, it's fine. And harm is kind of like, hey, keep your hands and feet to yourself. Don't be mean. Don't be a jerk. As long as you're not doing that, you're a good person. And I think that the things that harm ourselves are immoral. I think there's a whole category of things like that. I think that, those sexual behaviors like we were talking about before that are not, pointed toward their natural end are immoral. I think overeating, gluttony, laziness, sloth, I think those are immoral things. I think we would all feel in our heart of hearts, there's something wrong if we're not being productive. And we know somewhere deep down that work is good. When we don't work, we feel bad. When people are working around us, but we're not, we feel guilty. Why is that? We have a conscience. We have an objective sense of morality that's baked into the cake. And that's because we know that work and toil and productivity are good and the opposite is bad. Same goes for things like waste. We feel an inherent guilt when we waste food. Why is that? It's something that's immoral. It's not necessarily hurting somebody else, but we can all recognize it's not a good thing. And the same goes for being decadent, overindulgent, obese. The big scam is people say obesity is caused by some other thing. It's caused by eating too much. It's caused by a lack of discipline. People say, they got big bones or something. I think there's a lot of shit in the foods that we're not supposed to eat. But if you get fat, it's probably because you're eating too much, and that's a sin. So we need people to stop eating, stop the snacking, stop drinking the sugary drinks, stop grazing all the time. Got to get up and move, get active, stop being such a fat piece of shit. That's kind of my view on the whole thing. And I think it's immoral.
Who has a rebuttal? Does anyone think that it's okay to be fat? Go ahead, Isaac.
Okay, I don't agree. I agree with Nick a lot on this. I do not think that it's okay to be physically unhealthy. However, where my opinion differs, and I'm just assuming. I don't eat it. You didn't say it, but I don't think we should demonize people for being physically unhealthy. I think there are productive ways to stir people into a physically healthy life that doesn't involve shaming them and making them feel any worse than they already are. So, and to answer your question, I don't think it's all right to be physically unhealthy, but I don't think the solution to that is to shame people. And also, obesity and being fat can be caused by factors that aren't controlled by the person that is that way. I just wanted to add that it's a rarity, but those situations still happen. So that's how I feel about it.
Hey, before Nick responds, anybody else, is it okay to be fat? Chrissy, do you have anything, or Jazz, go ahead.
I think there's a difference between unhealthy and immoral. And I don't think, like Nick always talks about, we have this inherent thing that we just know it's unhealthy or we know it's immoral. And I think like earlier you brought up like, there's like things like math. Well, there's a consensus on math. Clearly your moral framework is not shared by a lot of people. It's by the majority of people in our country. And so if it's so inherent that we should all just know it because it's just within us, it seems like it's only a small percentage of people that have the thing you're talking about where we just inherently feel that someone eating donuts is so immoral. It's not happening.
Heaven, do you have anything? Is it okay to be fat?
Personally, I feel like it is okay to be fat in terms of just looks. If somebody is personally comfortable and confident that way, then, 2 thumbs up to them. Is it okay to be unhealthy? No. However, I do feel like what Nick is kind of getting at has more to do with a person's it has more to do with just being negative and like trying to tear them down and not really health. Because sometimes if a person has weight on them, it's not really because they're unhealthy. It may be like Isaac said, they may have personal like health issues that they're going through. So
and also
that's
like
my
fat is subjective because a lot of beauty standards have changed over time. I remember like the women that we call thick and curvy these days, they were labeled fat back in the day. So it's also really subjective about being fat. And as long as somebody's comfortable in their own skin, I think it's okay. But I'm not going to like enable, physical unhealthy behavior. But I'm not going to shame or demonize them the way you guys do. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I don't want to demonize. I don't think they're demonic. I don't think fat people are demonic. I just don't want to see them. I don't want to see them around. I think there's, it is the picture of being unhealthy when you're obese. People don't like to look at it for a reason. There's a reason that, super fat people are not in high demand, in the dating market or something like that. We don't like it because it's not beautiful. It's not beautiful because it's not good. It's not beautiful because it's not healthy. And I think that, as far as shame is concerned, I think shame is extremely important, because people, we know people and we know ourselves. If we don't have positive and negative incentives, we will do the path of least resistance. We will do what we want. We'll do what is easiest. And something like food, we all love to eat. Food tastes good. It's abundant. It's plentiful. It's something that we like to do. If there's not a powerful motivator like shame or fear of judgment or things like that, I think it does actually lead more people to engage in that. And I think it's not for their benefit. So it's almost like you look at a person who's fat. Now, a person that's fat has a lot of problems. They're probably going to die. They have a lot of health complications. Also, people don't really want to be around that. Are we really going to vilify the shaming? And what's better for the person? If they're shamed but they're skinny, or they're not shamed but they're fat? I think it's better if they're shamed and they're skinny. I think that's better for them. I think that's better for society. And we have to kind of get away from this oversensitivity. People are like wild animals. If left to their own devices, they will destroy themselves and others. I think meanness is actually kind of a prerequisite for society. And by the way, we know this with other things. When people are racist, when people are whatever, the kinds of things you guys don't like, you have no problem shaming them. You have no problem being mean, even in some ways, not necessarily you guys in particular. I'm speaking broadly, even being a little bit hypocritical towards so-called racist or sexist or whatever. So I don't think anybody disagrees with the tactics. Everybody knows that. It's just a question of what do you think is wrong? And I think that on some level, people want to tolerate fatness because people are more tolerant of weakness, decadence, selfishness than they are of meanness or cruelty or other things like that. And I just think that's I think that's imbalanced.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Burnout, and then I want to hear from...
Didn't you just...
one second,
I'm sorry
Burnout.
to ask another question.
No, Burnout. Before you ask a question, I want to hear your response before you change the subject. So we'll hear from Burnout. Okay. Then I want to hear from Christine. I want to hear from Cheyenne. You have not been participating.
All right. So I don't think it's a crime to be fat. Fat people aren't harming people. You want to say you don't like seeing them, but you just admitted that you sympathize because you're becoming fat. It's not really mixing in the pot together.
I know, and I hate myself. I look in the mirror, I see my fat face, and I'm like, damn, you're getting fat.
So do you really have the sympathy? Because you can't sit here and call fat people disgusting while being one, because that just gives hypocritical. You just sound hypocritical.
It's giving
and
guilty.
Then in
it's
the
giving
same
guilt.
Breath, it's giving what?
It's giving guilt. I look at my fat face in the mirror and I'm like, I'm so fat. I need to get skinny. That's good. People call me fat. It hurts my feelings, but it motivates me. Then when I go to Dunkin' Donuts, I'm like,
do you feel like you're hurting anyone by being fat? Do you feel like you're physically hurting anyone by being fat?
I'm offending the audience. If I'm fat, I offend the audience.
You shouldn't think that way about yourself, man. You need
no, because I don't think what you equated it to is the same. And you know that.
It depends on your look. Some fat people can pull it off. They have a kind of jolly demeanor. They're kind of, some people look a little better that way.
Body. I feel like we shouldn't speak on other people's bodies, especially if we don't know what's going on with them. You're more than valid to speak on yours. And if you're admitting to being embarrassed about getting fat and in the same breath belittling fat people, you're just saying that you hate yourself.
I hate that I'm getting fat. I do. And everyone should want to be healthy. Everyone should want these things, and we should encourage them to be. I want everyone to be the best that they can be. And I don't think we should be cruel. I am against cruelty, but I do think, if there's shame involved, if people feel bad for being fat, I don't think that's a bad thing. And there's a big difference between cruelty. I don't believe in cruelty. I don't believe in meanness. I don't think I'm a particularly mean person, but I do think that, when society says this is good, this is bad, when people don't measure up, I think it does cause negative feelings. But I don't think negative feelings are always bad. I think it's like pain. Pain isn't bad. If you get shot in the head, it hurts because you have a problem. In the same way, not often, not all the time, but if you feel negative emotion, a lot of the times it's because you need to make a change. And I feel like the left in general, they want to remedy all bad feelings, all negative feelings. They want to create an environment where everyone's super sensitive. And then when the outcomes are terrible, they care less about that. They care more about everybody feeling better than, for example, them being healthy. And in that sense, they're doing a disservice to people when they say, you're beautiful. It's like, if a fat person's in front, it's like, you're not beautiful. You're not doing them any favors by telling them that there's nothing wrong with them, because there is. And we don't have to be cruel about it, but
what about when someone has like acne? Should we like shame them? Because it could be for like a hormonal issue, which a lot of people that are bigger have hormonal issues or some type of genetic predisposition to it. Do you just go around and if someone's like ugly or has acne or just is not pleasurable to look at, you just think that's the response?
Well, but acne's different. Acne is not something that is directly caused by your lifestyle.
So now you can acknowledge that it's
It can be.
In some cases,
acknowledge, right?
And in some cases, weight is not directly dictated by your lifestyle. Like people have hormonal issues and medical issues. It is true.
You see a lot of like morbidly obese people that are starving to death.
No, but there are sometimes like hormonal issues, like thyroid issues. Like my aunt has it and she works out all the time and she's really healthy, but she just puts on a lot of weight because her thyroid. So people can have these issues that can also cause acne. There's many underlying factors that can lead to what someone looks like on the outside. And so I feel like either you have to make fun of everyone for everything. You're ugly, you're short, you have acne, or you need to understand that you don't necessarily know why a person looks a particular way.
I think we do kind of do that. I think we do kind of do that anyway. And I think that, some people are more comfortable with some things than other things. It's like, it's a classic example. Women will say, well, we don't like short men. We don't like weak men. We don't like men that aren't facially attractive. But then you go, okay, we don't like fat women. They go, what the how could you say that? She's crying. That's terrible. It's like, I think the world's a pretty cruel place. And I think that obesity, ironically, it's one of the ones that is most correlated, because you're right, in some cases, there are people that have a extenuating circumstance. I think in a lot of cases, it is overeating. Generations ago, there weren't as many fat people. And if you look around the world, in different countries, it varies tremendously. I think it is owing a lot to diet and exercise, more so than some, certainly acne, height, these other things you're pointing out, those are almost completely uncontrollable. And in the case of something like acne or bad skin, that is something, I think, less so than obesity that can be attributable to lifestyle. We all know if you see somebody with a super greasy face and greasy hair and they have bad complexion, it's like, okay, that guy doesn't shower. That's different than someone who just has it, because of hormones, because they're an adolescent or something.
Isaac, go ahead.
We'd say take a shower.
Yeah, but just like what Jasmine was saying, she could go after me. But exactly what Jasmine was saying, there are like underlying things that cause somebody to be like socioeconomic status too. There are like people in food deserts where they have no opportunity or no other options but to eat bad food. So there are people that are put in positions where they can't help the way they look, and I agree it's physically unhealthy and it's not good for them, but there needs to be a more productive way to lean them towards getting healthy. Like, we could provide more programs to help, people who are socioeconomically disadvantaged to, get healthier. But calling somebody fat and saying you're ugly, I don't want to look at you. These people generally are already feeling bad about themselves and you're just putting them down even further. So, and when someone gets put down, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where they don't want to get better because they already view the world as against them. So I don't think your way of dealing with that, it will be productive. It would actually lead to more self-pity and more obese people, if I'm being quite honest.
Christine, go ahead. Is it okay to be fat?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, there's all of the TikTokers and like the binge eaters that I see that they're like, what I eat in a day, and they're eating like thousands of calories a day. A lot of those are skinny people. So I feel like that energy should also be directed towards them, because like they're the ones that are eating unhealthily, but since they aren't able to gain a lot of weight or they have fast metabolisms, like no one really cares. But then like a fat woman or a fat man will be eating a salad on TikTok and they're getting roasted for that. So yeah, like you know, you see a fat person in the gym and they're getting made fun of. So like, how can they get better if they're just? But I know that's the truth of it, and that's what's gonna happen regardless. But yeah, I think there's a double standard there, and there's of course like Cushing syndrome, there's PCOS, and like syndromes and diseases that people like they can't help but to gain weight like during that, like medications and stuff like that. So,
Cheyenne, do you have anything? Is it okay to be fat?
It's okay to be fat, but I don't think it's okay to be unhealthy. Some people cannot control that they're fat, or sometimes it's genetics, or sometimes they go to a doctor and be like, hey, you're gonna start gaining weight. And sometimes when you get older, things stretches and you can't control your weight, and it's gonna get as harder. But being unhealthy is not okay, because as she just said, you see people on TikTok, they just gobbling that thing, gobbling. But some of them have fast metabolism, versus you'll see somebody who's plus size, they're eating like a healthy meal and they're making fun of. I don't think that's okay that they get shamed.
I eat horribly and everything goes into my ass and titties and I just make more money on OnlyFans.
Okay,
so
we don't need to talk about OnlyFans. That's a different subject completely. Let's move on, because this is kind of getting cyclical. I'm going to ask Nick, is transgenderism a mental illness?
Oh, here we go.
I think, by definition, what do they call it? Gender dysphoria. I mean, by definition it is. And people say, well, the remedy to gender dysphoria is the so-called gender transition. I just don't think that such a thing can be achieved. I think you're born what you are. And people can make modifications. They change the way they dress. They modify their body with surgeries or hormones. It just makes that person what they were with the modifications. If they were a man, now you're a man with long hair. You were a woman, now you're a woman with short hair and a mustache. And that's why almost all the time you can clock them. And there are some that are pretty good at hiding it. There's some that are pretty deceptive. But for the most part, the way we find it funny is because you see like a 6'5" guy who's 400 pounds grabbing a guy by the collar of his jacket and saying, "You do not film me." If you saw that TikTok, it's like, okay, like, that's not very ladylike. Like that guy did not become a woman. Obviously, it's a guy in a dress. So I just don't, I think we're born a gender. I think gender is an essential, immutable, unchangeable part of who we are. It's a self-deception when people say they've transformed. I don't think that's possible.
Let's start with Isaac. Is transgenderism a mental illness?
I do think that a lot of people who become transgender, they are grappling with thoughts about the gender that they are and societal expectations. But I feel like that's something that a lot of people go through, like living up to societal expectations. And just because they took an effort to feel comfortable in their own body does not mean they have a mental illness. It's just part of the human condition, wanting to feel good in your own skin. So if you call transgenderism a mental illness, then you would have to call anybody else that decides to change something about themselves to feel better mentally ill. And it's just not productive to call everyone you disagree with mentally ill.
Burnout, go ahead, and then I want to hear from Heaven.
So I believe that obviously this is an individual choice, and the only person that should be speaking on it is the person who feels like they are who they are, and if they want to transition, that is their decision. But I do have experiences with friends who have gone through that, and they said that, they don't feel any different after. They feel like they just cut their genitals off for no reason or added genitals for a reason, and it really just has to do with society, because you can be whatever gender you want as long as you think about it. Like, you don't actually have to have the parts. If you want to be a dude, go be a dude. It's all up to what you feel about yourself mentally, and I don't think that it's a mental illness. I think the repercussions and the way that society pushes on you to fit this cookie cutter blueprint of what is defined as a woman and a man is really the problem there, not mental illness.
Okay, let me ask you a follow-up question, Burnout, before we go on to the next one. Burnout, can a human become a dog?
God, what?
That's just crazy. Be for real. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but be for real.
Gender is a human construct. A dog
person be a dog.
two different things.
To answer that question, actually, think about furries.
Excuse me, this is Adin speaking. Can I become black?
Absolutely not.
You guys are basically like
Yes.
changing the subject.
Gender and race is
Race
not
and
interchangeable.
your physical self are non-human constructs. Gender is. You can't become black because black is a physical trait that is inherent to you, not gender.
Gender is physical, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Gender is
Sex is
biological.
physical, but gender is not.
Wait, okay, so I have a question. I'm generally just asking. So the physical part of gender is a penis and a vagina, correct?
No,
Yes.
that's sex.
No, actually, no. It's much more complicated and complex
There's
than that.
secondary sex characteristics. Like when you see a person on the street, you're not seeing their genitals, but you're seeing things that we associate with one gender expression or the other, like breasts and hair, and all those things are the ways that we identify people because we're not seeing people's genitals.
Okay, I have a question. Wait, Isaac, you did just say yes when I asked that. What were you saying yes? Did you agree with me?
No, I was basically trying to say that's more complex than that. Like genitals are, you don't see people's genitals, just like Jasmine said. People identify like in passing. You see a woman, you see a man, but that's society speaking. That's not something that is physical. A woman is a very complex thing. A man is a very complex thing. Gender is different than sex. Now, somebody could be born a sex that is physical. But gender itself, he, she, they, whatever, that is a human construct that has no basis with biology whatsoever.
No, let Nick go ahead and elaborate off of if you believe in my argument, Nick, that if basically they're saying that if they could just switch their gender, then I can become black. If you can, you can go off basically what you want to say, but they're basically just saying it's not a physical, gender's not physical.
It's
yeah,
not.
well, I, some days I feel black. I'm going to put on blackface. I'm going to curl my hair. I'm going to start talking like this. I'm going to start talking like a black person. I'm going to sag my pants and stuff, because it makes me feel comfortable in my body. I woke up, I felt black. And who is to tell me it's my body? Society can't come and tell me what I'm going to do. Who are you to judge? And, maybe race is biological on some level, but race is also a social construct. I mean, what is black? Black people have brown skin. What is blackness? It's our conception of what blackness is. Who's to say I can't go out and modify my appearance to make myself more comfortable? You'd be okay with that? Halloween, I'm going out as Richard Pryor. Halloween, I'm going out as Barack Obama. I'm going out as Barack Hussein Obama with the birth certificate and everything. Point is, we can create arbitrary categories to separate them from biological reality. We could say, well, no, penis and vagina's sex, man and woman is gender. You're just creating an arbitrary category. We all know gender and sex are the same thing. Gender is an expression of sex. Male and female are biological categories. They want to introduce this other category. And then when it's indefensible, say, well, it's really just about what makes them comfortable. So are we debating whether people should be able to express themselves? Or are we debating, whether there are men and women? I think everybody knows there's men and women at this point.
If you wanna define it that way,
please. Okay. I just want to say, my mom was pregnant with me. I could not pop out as a white person or a black person or a Mexican person. That was decided when they are both Asian and they had sex. And
wait, you're Asian?
I am Asian.
Oh my God.
I'm Vietnamese. Yes. And I want to say there are intersex people that exist. There are people that have both. And I want to say that where was I going? But yeah, that was the main point that I wanted to get off. That you can transracialism. That was from Rachel Dolezal. There's maybe 4 or 5 people that really consider them transracial, and her family went out against her because she did not grow up around that area. She grew up with a white family, normal white family. That was what she was, and then she decided that she wanted to be transracial, but that's not really a thing. That's throughout history. All throughout history, there have been trans people that have existed. So that's just a newer thing that people are using now. And same with the being an animal. When my parents had sex and I was conceived, I can't come out as a dog. So that's what I have to say.
Wait, but I have a question. So, the what is the name? The Jazz. the boobs. The person, she said that when we see someone walking down the street, we don't know that they have a penis and balls or they have a vagina. It's a secondary expression. Okay, I'll raise you one. Let's say I get my eyes surgically modified. I get my eyes sewn like this. And I'm walking down the street. And let's say I put like some fine black hair. I get like a mustache like this. And I say, hello, and somebody says, that guy's Asian. That's an Asian man. Are you going to say, well, you don't know, my parents are both white. My parents are both white. Race isn't essential. Race, you don't know that I'm Chinese just because my eyes look like this and I have a fine black Fu Manchu mustache and I'm wearing a straw hat. You don't know that. So again, it's like, we all know these, once you start applying them to other categories, we all realize you actually can't change, just like you can't change your race, which is essential. You can't change your species, which is essential. You can't change your gender, which is essential. But there's this argument, we're going to create another category. If you feel like a thing, you're the thing. Yeah, that only works if you make the thing a new category. I can stand in the garage. It doesn't make me a car. What if I say car? What is a car? A car is transportation. I could walk down the street and go like this. I'm a car. It's like you're imitating a car, but you're not a car. You're imitating a dog. You're not a dog. You're imitating a black person. Shit. You're not you can imitate a woman. You're not a woman. So it's imitation with word games in the middle.
Can I respond?
Christine,
I know that you said
hold on, Christine, quickly, and then Burnout. Go ahead.
Because you said that being gay wasn't a choice, so I wonder how the difference is being trans is a choice, but being gay isn't a choice.
Well, it's a behavior. It's a predisposition to a behavior. So I think some people are predisposed to some things, some people are predisposed to other things, and that's unchangeable.
Burnout, go ahead.
If you feel like you can make something up, why is it that you can make something up and it be true, and if a thought that differs from what you think can't be true? Like, what makes you think that you're the right one? Like, you're saying everything that's so correct in the world when there's live proof that differs.
Well, that's the point of the debate. So we all disagree on the issue, and then we come together, and then we argue back and forth.
Right,
and then people can determine what's more convincing, and then that's
you don't have to mansplain what a debate is to me.
Mansplain. Well, you asked me. You said, "Well, but what do people disagree?" It's like
that. This is facts. If you know that things are made up, you're saying that gender is made up. If that was the case, then we wouldn't even have man and woman. We would just call each other chromosome X and chromosome Y. Like,
good point. It's true.
We were debating. Now we're agreeing. What's going on?
Because look, what we call male is the active. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things you call male, but it's the active partner that fertilizes the egg with the X and Y chromosome with the penis and balls. What transgender people are saying is, well, no, man is really, there's two levels of man. There's the level of man, which is a discrete reality. And then there's a level of man, which we all imagine. And that's what we call man. And, manness is different from being a man. And it's like, again, you can, again, a woman can imitate what a man is and then call herself a man. And we can say, well, the person that is a man and the person that's imitating a man are both men. But it doesn't change the fact that one is and one is imitating. There is one has a penis and one doesn't. One has the chromosomes and one doesn't. One was born one way, one was born another, and then undertook a self-conscious effort to imitate the other. So that, we can call it XY, we could call it male, we could call it man, we could call it all those things, but we're still describing the same reality. It's literally semantics.
What'd you say, Isaac?
Yeah, can Jasmine talk? She's been raising her hand.
Yeah, we'll go finish with Jasmine, and then we're going to the next.
Guys, we're gonna have to go to the next topic. But Jasmine, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm not arguing, and I don't know if other people on the panel are, that a cis woman and a transgender woman are the same. I don't think they're the same. But I think they would both be under the umbrella term of woman, because when a person has the secondary sex characteristics and you see them as a woman, to say that they are the same thing as a man just doesn't make sense. And the culture does matter. I'll even agree with you with race. I know people from so many parts of the world. Like my boyfriend was just in Africa, and over here he's considered black. Over there he's too light, and he's considered I forgot what he said it is. But I'm Iranian. Some people consider me a person of color and some don't. The culture that you live in also affects the way people perceive you, and that is part of the story.
Great. Do you have any is there anything to respond to here, Nick, or we can go to the next subject?
Yeah, I just, the idea that like what makes a woman is her biology. Taking the reproductive faculty from a woman is to take the womanness from her. Well, I mean, what's a woman without the fact that she is a biological woman? A mother has a vagina, uterus, and of course, there are women that are born without those things. But I think everyone would agree that's one of those essential things. Having long hair, not necessarily essential. Wearing a dress, not necessarily essential. We'd all agree that what makes a man and a woman are those things. You can't put them under the umbrella because they dress like them. Just like, same thing with a car. If you have a red car in the garage, would you say that what makes a car is that it has a coat of red paint and windows, or that it has an engine? It's like the engine is what makes the car the car. It's a horseless carriage. That's what a car is. You take away that essential component, is no longer that thing. You could push rock in the garage, paint it red, put a piece of glass on it, put a radio in it. It wouldn't make it a car because it lacks. You say, well, they're both cars. They're on the umbrella of car. There's cars with engines, and then there's rocks that look like cars. It's like, but they're lacking those essential ingredients, and I think everyone knows that.
Great. Let's move on to the next subject. I want to ask Nick: can white people say the N-word?
Yes. Well, yeah, obviously they can. I say it all the time. So.
Great. I want to start. Isaac, you seem to disagree. Or can white people say the N-word?
Anybody can do anything as long as it's not breaking the law. So from a literal sense, yes, white people can say the N-word, but I question the reasoning behind wanting to say that word. Is it to feel powerful, to take back control that was, that we took back from y'all because of that word? But all those scenarios aside, a white person can say the N-word, but I don't think it's right to say the N-word.
Burnout, do you have anything? Should white people be able to say the N-word?
Being that, in a sense, they kind of invented it, but the history behind it breeds a huge understanding as to why you shouldn't say it. I really don't understand why you would want to say it, other than to try to get a rise out of someone that it oppressed. So you can say it, but why? Why do you want to say it? Me personally, I don't think that you should. If you are really like a human being that wants to get over the hump of racism or wants to be progressive, I don't think that you should be doing that. You're contradicting yourself. But that's my opinion.
Christine, would it offend you if a white person said the N-word?
Listen, so there are people that'll say, oh, like my black friends let me say the N-word, or I got a pass. Well, if you say that to the wrong crowd of people, you might get jumped, you might get killed, and things like that. So it's not, I get called ching chong, ling ling. It's not even on the same level though, because of like the history behind the word, and black people have got to reclaim that word for themselves. I don't see white people having the desire to claim ching chong and ling ling, but they just call Asian people that. So it's like, yeah, white people can say it, but it's like you might have black friends that co-opt that and love that for you. But if you go to like the wrong area of town, or you go somewhere and you're willy-nilly saying it, you could get beat up, killed, all that stuff. And so that's on the white person.
Heaven, do you agree? Do you think that white people should fear being killed or murdered if they say the N-word?
Yes, I think they should.
Beat up, anything. Not that extent. I'm just asking.
No, I'm definitely that extreme. I feel like they should fear that because it's a word that, like, everyone else has said on this panel right now, like the history behind it. Why would you want to say a word that was created by your people to oppress another minority? I don't even know why somebody would want to say that. It's classless. And it's just, yeah, it's just not a good word.
Cheyenne, let me ask you, should white people fear getting beat up or murdered if they say the N-word?
Yes.
Do you have an argument or just anything else to add?
No, I am going to add. Obviously, they're going to say it. But to say it to like any other minority that is black, or just to say, oh, why do you want to say it? That's the reason. Because
Someone's
using that
too
word
slow across the crosswalk. Someone cuts you off in traffic.
Yeah, but
someone throws a bag of Fritos out the window on the highway. You're
that's
like,
not really a reason.
And it comes out. It comes flying out.
I disagree. I
It's flying right out.
White people should fear for their lives for saying that word. However, I do think a lot of white people, they think they could just say whatever they want and there will be no repercussions. Now, I'm not advocating for them to hurt or anything, but if you lose a sponsorship, if your friends distance themselves from you, if you get dropped from your job, that is just a natural reaction to you saying something that is not deemed appropriate in society. So yes, you can say that word, but be ready to face the consequences.
Yeah, I agree with him. I don't think anyone should be beat up for saying the word. I just think it's cringy. But actually, fighting words are not constitutionally protected by the First Amendment. Getting into a little lawyer talk, but Chaplinsky is the case. And back then, it was "you goddamn racketeer" was considered a fighting word, which meant that it was not protected speech. So there hasn't been any cases recently on this, but technically, fighting words are not protected speech. And I wonder if, in a context where someone uses that word, if it would fall under that doctrine. I don't agree with that doctrine. I don't think fighting words should be not protected personally, but that is what our laws are like right now.
Nick, before you respond, Jazz, do you think somebody could earn an N-word pass?
I just feel like, listen, I'm not for people not being able to say something or being able to say words based on their identities. I'm not for that. I just think it's cringy. Like, I've never seen a non-black person, especially a white person or someone that talks like me, where that word like rolls off the tongue and doesn't sound just gross and cringy. So I mean, do I think anyone should get a pass? Not really. I just think people, if they want to use it. And the way you're perceived by society is on you.
Because you can't do it. I think that when it comes to the N-word and other slurs, it's protected under free speech. Like, a lot of conservatives like to say that, oh, I have the free speech to do this. Yes, you do. But you also have, to face the consequences. So this isn't a matter of like, can white people say the N-word? Of course they can. But do you still want to say that word knowing that your business will suffer, your social reputation will take a nosedive? I don't think people should fear for their life for saying that, but if you want to say that word and consequences come to you, then that's just, you made your bed, so now lie in it.
Go ahead, Christine.
That Lily Gaddis girl that gained 20,000 followers for saying the N-word on TikTok, and she's getting paid by all these outlets to do interviews. There are white people, yes, you use the N-word and you will get loved by people on that side and welcomed into the right wing and the conservative side of Twitter. So that's why I think some people would want to do that, because they want to be edgy and they want to monetize off of that, because there are some people that agree with them and think that it's funny and that they'll do that. So
now she's getting hate by the same people she was appealing to, so that never worked out for her.
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. People are calling her Jewish and things like that, which
Go ahead, continue showing yourselves. I have no problem with that.
Okay, well, before
can I jump in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it is sort of crazy because, this is a word that, let's just stop pretending. It is considered the same in any context. If someone utters the word, even if they mean no harm, even if it's not directed at a black person, even if it's not directed in a derogatory way, uttering the word, this is why we call it the N-word. We can't even, in the context of this conversation and this proposition, should we say it, should we not say it? We're not even allowed to utter the syllables because we all know we don't want that clip to go around because we get canceled. And people on the panel say if you say it, you should be struck down and killed or beat up, some, not all. And this is something a lot of people do believe. You see videos on the internet where it's like, oh, this guy said the N-word, then this guy hit him with a skateboard and knocked him out. That was awesome. He had it coming. The only other entity that I can think of where to this day people say should be killed if you offend them is God. Like that, if you commit blasphemy in certain cultures, they'll kill you. And that's on the same level today. In the same way that Christians won't say GD, they won't say that because it's blasphemy, it's a sin, you go to hell, you have to go to confession. It's like that today with the N word, which like children, we have to, like the F word, I said the S word, we still have to say the N word. And I think this speaks to the level of the whole country, as we all know, is walking around on eggshells not to offend the black people. We all know you can offend white people, Hispanics, you can offend Asians, you can heap discrimination and racism on Arabs, Muslims, even Jews on some level. But we all know black people, careful what you say, or else you'll be canceled. If you're not in good standing, if you don't have the stamp of approval, you'll get shouted down. And I think it's totally ridiculous. So I totally oppose it. I think that, look, it's a word, sticks and stones, break my bones, etc. People get called retard. People get called all kinds of other things. People can say things that are even meaner, that are more personal. But for some reason, blacks are this protected class. You can't say their special word. I think it's total joke. I think that if whites and blacks want to live together in harmony, there has to be a real mutual basis of equality. Nobody's ever said that there's things off limits you could say about white people. Jamie Foxx can go on SNL and say, I play Django, I get to kill a lot of white people, which is pretty awesome. You talk about killing white people on TV, that's fine. You utter the syllables of a slur, suddenly you're a racist? Like Michael, or what's his name, Kramer from Seinfeld? It's totally insane. It's got to go. And by the way, that's for the benefit, I think, of both people in the whole country, both peoples, blacks and whites. I think we should be able to say it. And it's funny.
So I wanted to, real quick, guys, this is Adin speaking. So it was my birthday a year ago. I was on stage with Chief Keef and we were rapping together, Don't Like. I asked Chief Keef on stage with him, I said, can I say it? You sure? You sure? He says, yes. I ended up rapping the lyric and I said the N word. Do you guys think there's anything wrong with that?
I think, like, do you want to go, man? Go ahead.
Okay. That is a very unhealthy way of thinking that, because it's in a song, it makes it okay. Everybody likes to ignore the history. That should be the first thing that should come to your mind when you think about the N-word and its origin. It's just not like a light word. We know that the N-word was made to oppress. Us taking the N-word back was us reclaiming our power. You were trying to say that you using the N-word is funny, is you taking a whole population and their history and the abuse that you put them through and you classify them as a joke. And then to sit there and be like, oh, it's going to breed equality if we can say it. No, it won't. What's going to breed equality is you listening to black people, hearing their preference when it comes to something that oppresses them, that has painted their history for years because of the actions of others, and take into account and respect that. Because if we can respect, not to say cracker or offend any other race, why is it so hard? You just said it.
But Burnout, real quick, if everyone wants equality, so shouldn't everyone be able to say any word they want? Because think about it, if you're
why are you trying to equate equality to saying words and not basic human things like the right to food, the right to home? Like, you're trying to make something fit where it does not have any prevalence.
Okay. Well,
all because you feel like.
Debate, but I just had a question. I just had a question. If you guys in here thought it was wrong for me after getting permission 3 times to rap on stage with Chief Keef
Chief Keef doesn't speak for the entire community of black people. I'm glad you got to say it and you felt good, but he don't speak for me. I love Chief Keef, but he don't speak for me or anybody I know.
Okay, so you guys I'm sorry, real quick. So you guys do have an issue if white people rap along lyrics to songs?
If we're constantly telling you the history behind this, and you know the history because it's from your ancestors, why do you want to say it so bad?
Yes, but you didn't go through that. You personally did not. Look,
we
I'm
are
Jewish.
Still recovering from the repercussions.
Okay, what about the Holocaust and Jews? I'm just asking you a question. I didn't go through the Holocaust. I didn't personally go through the Holocaust. You didn't personally.
But you can respect that the Holocaust was like really devastating to Jewish people, right?
Yes.
You can respect that. So why
Nick
can't you
doesn't
respect-
believe the Holocaust even happened, right?
Well, no, that was a whole different thing.
Okay.
Forget that.
Yeah, but Aiden,
But if you can
I
respect
feel like
that
you're drawing
a
a false
population of
equivalency.
people have been oppressed
You
for
got
so
me.
long and went through something so traumatic, why is it so hard for you to be like, oh,
Well, my question is
okay,
this.
they did too.
I think we
Just
need to be
because you want to say a
consistent.
word.
I'm not trying to speak for any. I'm Jewish, right? And you guys are black. You guys went through slavery, went through the Holocaust, pretty much similar things. So listen.
No, I wouldn't say that. But go ahead.
I said similar. I said similar in many ways. Okay. So my question is this: if we want equality in the world, we shouldn't be able to be like, all right, this specific group of people cannot do this, but these people can. If you want everyone to be equal, we all got to be equal.
I'm not telling you, that's the thing. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm asking for respect. If I can respect your Jewish heritage and what you went through, why is it so hard for you to respect my heritage and what my people went through, even though I didn't go through it personally and you didn't go through the Holocaust personally? I can respect that and not say anti-Semitic things to you just because it's in a song. You don't hear people saying, oh, I can say cuck, I can say this, that, and other because it's in a song. You don't hear that. That's you wanting that privilege because you want to be aligned with something that you're not aligned with.
Huh. Okay. So
Good
Nick,
point. Like, for example, if in the song they said, like, you know, Hitler nigga, that's the nigga that I like. You know, you wouldn't like that if they said they liked Hitler in the song. They would hate that. I would also add, Italians never call them the N-word. We call them mullignans. That means eggplant. We call them mullignans. We call them shines because they shine. We didn't call them the N-word. And also, Italians were discriminated against too. Italians were lynched. People were racist against Italians. Italians never owned slaves. Italians got here in the 19th century. So you're telling me I oppressed people? I
Do
didn't
you
oppress
hear yourself
anybody.
though?
I didn't oppress
We're
anybody.
not
What do you
staying
mean?
on subject. We're
I
talking
find it
about
very
black people and you're
how,
bringing
like,
up Italian people for what? For what?
You basically talk about us being triggered over words, but I feel like a lot of conservatives get triggered just as easily. If we call
Like
you
what?
guys
Trigger me.
deplorables.
I
I'm not
just
talking
did.
specifically you, but I remember you guys boycotting people because they called Trump supporters deplorables, or you'll boycott another company because they said this thing, they said that. So I think that both people, like everyone has the free right under the Constitution to boycott and the free market take place whenever someone does something or says something that the country does not approve of. So I think it's very hypocritical that you're saying, oh, black people don't let me say this, when you guys will be quick to boycott us if we said something y'all didn't like. That's literally just how society works, and there's nothing wrong about it.
Yeah, I'm just arguing people should be able to say it. I agree. I mean, people can react how they want, but I'd also
you're saying,
add,
oh, but they're canceling us. Do you not think that people should be canceled for saying the N-word? Yes or no?
no, absolutely not.
Then you're against the free market then. So you're basically contradicting your point. That people should be able to
because
say something.
I don't think there's anything morally wrong with saying a word. I think that if a person and by the way, I'll just say, I think if a person has demonstrated that they hate another race, I think that's wrong. As a Catholic, I think that's wrong. But saying a word in any context, like Adin said, you could say it as part of a song, and I may not be a little edgy, whatever, make a joke about it. But saying a word in the context of a song is obviously harmless. You're singing the song, you say the words in a song. You like the artist, you say the word in the song. But, we've seen legitimately people get shut down because, on TikTok, when they do the lip syncing, they do this when they do the N-word. They say, when the N-word comes up, they do this. Because it's like not even saying it, but lip syncing it as part of a song, people consider so immoral that they'll get contracts taken and everything like that. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with uttering a word, even if you might find it offensive. And, again, context is everything. If someone is using it in a super derogatory way because they hate black people or something like that, I think that is different than people that say it when they're discussing it, people that say it in a song. It is a term of endearment among the black people. Same is true of other slurs. Gay people call each other faggots. Women call each other bitches. I'm sure retards call each other retards or something. That's just society. What's really going on with the N-word is it's more about this social station that blacks occupy and you can sit there and say, well, I don't think they should be beat up. But, just like Chief Keef doesn't speak for all black people, you don't either. A lot of black people take that as a sign. I can kill, I can punch, I can maim somebody. I think that's wrong.
Heaven, I want to
do
ask
think
you a
it's
question,
wrong, too,
Isaac,
but I
before you go, to include more people. Heaven, you said earlier that people should expect to be beat up or murdered if they say the word. Is it the same repercussions if they say the soft A versus the hard R?
You know, me personally, I just feel like they shouldn't say it at all. I was raised a little different. As a black person, like, yeah, I can say it, but my family didn't let me say it. I feel like I really do feel like it's just like classless and tasteless to say. I feel like if you want to say that word, like everybody else has said on the panel, like just expect whatever that happen, you know? Um, my stance is still the same. I don't think anybody should say it.
But is it equal if Nick said the soft A versus the hard R? Is it the same level of offensive?
Yes.
Okay, Isaac, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think that I agree with the statement that people should be able to say whatever they want. What I have a problem with is that Nick Fuentes seems to be of the opinion that whenever they face consequences for saying something that's socially unacceptable, that's wrong. People practicing their free speech and boycotting or calling somebody out or, getting fired or, something bad happening to them that isn't against the law, that is perfectly fine. So you can say the N-word all you want, but do not be surprised when you face societal repercussion for that. That's just how the world works.
Burnout, can I ask you, is it the same level of offensive if a white person said the soft A versus the hard R?
I definitely take more offense to the hard R. But if you want to use the like A, I'm just gonna look at you like, you're not a person I would deem of like, viable character. Like you're not really somebody I would respect just off of the strength of that. I wouldn't look at you twice. I wouldn't consider you like as a person. Like I wouldn't really give you much. I just would be like, oh, and move on because it doesn't really deserve attention. When people who know the history behind it want to say it, still, even on that and in the proximity of Black people, it's either out of wanting to be down or wanting to get a rise. And in any type of situation, you're gonna get neither from me. Like I don't really care to like integrate myself into that type of relationship with anyone, especially if we've spoken about it, if you know where I stand and you still choose to do it. So
okay, it sounds like any closing thoughts on this subject?
I think people are going to do what they want. Like I said, there's going to be people like Lily Gaddis and stuff that are going to make platforms and money and off of it because they have that community of people that think that it's funny and edgy and that have the right to do so. Same with like, I do see like the R word is like going back. Like I see it all the time on TL. I don't agree with it. I don't like saying it, but it's something that is being normalized again. And I think that's just something that we're just going to keep seeing evolve in that aspect. There's going to be people that still aren't okay with it. There are going to be some people that think that it's okay. There's going to be some people that will think that they can give a pass, and it's just what it is.
Okay, I think we can move on to the next subject.
Wait,
go ahead.
You want to ask Nick if there's?
No, I don't think Nick has it. We pretty much hit this. Nick, do you have anything?
Yeah, no, I think we've kind of been over it.
Okay, we have like one more. Well, we have one more subject. It's actually a great one. It's a two-parter. So I want everyone to go in order. Would you say you're happy in life right now? And then the second point of the question is, do you believe that depression is real?
Let's start with Nick.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm pretty content. I think that, you have to love life as it is. I don't believe in this. When people say happy, they mean they want to feel good all the time. I think it's really more about loving life when it's, whatever it gives you, whether it's temporary fleeting happiness or the other stuff. You have to love all of it. So I would say I'm happy. As far as depression is concerned, I definitely think it's real. The question is, how prevalent is it? I think that, people say they're depressed. I think they have a lot of other problems. I think they're socially dislocated. I think maybe they're feeling grief, lonely. I think a lot of things are called depression. It's kind of just become synonymous with like chronic negative emotion. But I don't know, people treat it like a mental illness. I think it's real. Mental illness would say nothing's causing it. I think the grief and loneliness chronic negative feelings that people have, especially now, I think there's a very real reason for it. And I think that, you know, if their lives were different, they wouldn't be depressed. Now, if depression were a real illness, that wouldn't be the case. And I think depression is real, but I think it's far more rare than it's diagnosed.
Who wants to respond first? Anyone?
I'll say.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Happy.
I would say.
I'm happy.
Go
I
ahead.
think happiness is a choice, and I think gratitude has to do a lot with it. Depression is real, and I think it wasn't as common before things like social media or like the wealth gap and things of that nature. I don't think it was that prevalent, but I did think it existed. I think it's real, but it's more so a mental state because it's just feeling more so that you are hopeless, and that's a feeling, but some people get stuck in that feeling, and that's when depression develops. And I feel like maybe I want to say that it's solvable by just practicing gratitude, but that is more personal to me rather than I can't just apply that to everybody.
Isaac, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say I agree with Nick. I think I'm content. I do think a lot of people are chasing a fleeting sense of like spark, and whenever it dies down a little bit, they start to think, oh, like life is not worth it or anything. But I think you do need to appreciate even the little things about life. As for depression, I do think that depression is real, but it is like there are two sides to it. There's like environmental aspects where, you know, somebody loses their job, they're in a tough financial situation that could lead them to being depressed. And then there are a lot of other people who have everything going for them and they are depressed, but we don't know why. So, and I do believe that a lot of people get falsely diagnosed with depression. Sometimes it's temporary, like situational, and sometimes it's just sadness. But depression as a whole, it is real. But whether it's environmentally based or something that's inherent to that specific person, that's up for debate.
Do we have a point of contention? Everybody, Christine, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was on the same page as everyone. I do think that being content is more important because there are people that kind of seek more and more to be happy or need more and more to be happy, whether that's money or like they're seeking fame or whatever it is. But there are definitely people that have that it can be genetic, that people within their family have suffered through like psychiatric episodes or in several mental illnesses. And it is up to the individual, of course, to whether they self-medicate. But there's other people that cope with it, not through medication, but like by drinking or in unhealthy ways or by like going to the gym. People are like, just go to the gym, like you'll feel better. So.
I would say that, yeah, I agree with kind of the sentiment everyone has shared. I do think that depression does have a genetic and environmental component. We do know that people can have genetic predispositions to it, which proves that there is some type of genetic component to it. But I do think a lot of it is environmental. And when we're seeing rates rise really high like they are right now, it can very well be attributed to lack of community, lack of personal relationships. There's a really good book by Johann Hari called Lost Connections that really goes into this, being socioeconomically depressed or being not able to support yourself, not finding meaning in your job. All of these things can affect you getting depressed, right? And there's obviously an epigenetic component and all of that. So it's not super easy. There's a lot of nuance to it. But yeah, I wouldn't make it a black and white thing, but I do think it obviously exists. Also, I have to go. So yeah, this started a little later and I had plans that I can't cancel. So if I could exit gracefully, I'd appreciate it.
Likewise, I kind of have to go as well.
Great. Yeah, we're going to ask for closing statements here, if anything. Nick, do you have a closing statement? Do you guys have the same opinions, or did you learn anything? Closing thoughts.
Wait, we got ahead Heaven and
Heaven and Cheyenne. Do you have anything? They've been pretty quiet.
Yeah, I was.
You said goodbye.
Guys, I'm aware. Hold on a second. Everyone is. We're gonna basically. We're just gonna say final words to close this thing off. I appreciate everyone's time and all. You guys were awesome. If you guys just want to say like something that you guys have learned or something that you highly want to emphasize on your closing statement, go ahead. We'll start with you, Burnout. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for letting me express my thoughts. I respect everybody's disposition or their right to have the disposition because I don't agree with everything. And I don't know, just thank you for giving me a space to express thoughts that differ from what you usually speak on.
For sure. All right. Nick, do you have anything to say to her?
No, well, I'll address the whole group, but yeah, thanks for joining the panel.
Thank you for having me. I hope you have a good night and think about what happened here.
You too.
Burnout, can you give Nick the N-word pass before you leave?
Absolutely fucking not.
Come on.
Isaac, can you give Nick Can you give Nick one N-word pass before you leave?
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to charge you.
Nope, you tried it.
Isaac, nothing Cheyenne.
Next time.
Come again?
You can invite me back.
Heaven, do you give Nick the N-word pass?
No, I do not.
I know Isaac's going to give it to me.
He's
Isaac,
already
come
said
on.
I won't say that.
I think he gave
The most you're gonna get from me is a.
All right.
I guess I'll have to say it illegally. No pass. I'm going in with no pass.
I mean,
Don't
you've done
kill
that
me.
before.
I mean, you already
That's
did
right.
it. You don't
Has
have
something
to.
to
He already said it. He don't need a pass. He
Yeah,
already
You
said
already
it.
said it. Like, what?
You asked for permission for it. You already did it.
But yeah, thank you for having us on. I think Nick, you're really good. You're really good at verbalizing your thoughts. I disagree with it, a lot. But I could see why you have such a large following. But I do think a lot of your arguments were weak. You lacked evidence, but you were good at saying it. So I'll give you that.
Thanks. Well, hey,
I wanna
I
say-
appreciate you being a good sport.
Thank you.
I was telling my sister about it. She's like, "Oh yeah, people like that should have a platform." But like you said, you already do have a platform. So yeah, I do appreciate that we were able to keep it respectful. I don't think it got too heated or anything like that. And yeah, we agree on some things. So like the pro-Palestine, and then also on the depression is real and that gay is a big choice. So yeah, it was very interesting. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank
Also,
you. Really fun.
Okay.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you guys. All right, Nick.
I would like to
Nick,
take
hang out here real quick, Nick.
Okay. All right. So long, guys. Thank you.
Stay-
Bye.
All right, Nick. We're gonna just put our camera on 1 second.
Sweet.
Chat, who won that?
Thoughts?
Chat. Who won? Chat. Let me see you guys do a.
Yeah,
WRL.
It's pretty clear.
Were
I
the
mean,
feminists annihilated?
Yeah, that was. We had to change some of the questions during the conversation because it was pretty clear that they didn't really know what they were talking about. So we made it more like juvenile and simple. I think starting off with Kamala Trump was not the right idea. So I tried to make it more comedic towards the end. They didn't really have much. Most of the time they just said I feel like, and like, yeah, they should vote, but they didn't present any arguments. And even they got offended. There wasn't much going on from that. I was disappointed with the panel. How did you feel?
It was fun. I mean, they were good sports about it, but I don't think, in fairness, I don't think they were debaters. Like Dean, too, even though he's crying and everything, and he's right up with me. Me and him are two N-word sayers. We're unpermitted N-word sayers. We're undocumented N-word users. At least he's like a debate bro. This is what he does. He's in his element. To his credit, these girls, they came, they shared their opinions, they shared their thoughts. And it's like Isaac said, I do this for a living. I express my opinion for a living. I think it was more casual for them. But, I appreciated coming on. I thought it was a good conversation. And it's good to flesh out the topics. I think they represent what everybody thinks about the issues. I think in that way it was balanced. I represent kind of the opposite view. And I'm really not trying to score slam dunks and say, oh, well, yeah, I got you in my trap. I'm trying to get people think about a totally different way of thinking, in the sense that, you could see so much of the talk is, well, everyone should vote. Everyone has rights. Women have rights. Everybody has these unexamined assumptions about how the world is and how it should be. And the job is less to say, oh, hey, Republicans are right, vote Republican. It's more about, maybe we need to examine our fundamental assumptions about the world and these liberal views we all have about the world. So that's what I tried to do. I thought they were very fair. They were all good sports. None of them were personal. None of them got offended. to their credit. So I thought it was a good debate. I thought it was fun.
I think you were expecting that, and so was I. I was expecting it to get a little dirty. I think you started that way, like saying, like, oh, let's get a man on to fix the mic and all this. And then you realized that it was pretty, that this was just a conversation to get them thinking. That was the more important strategy. When did you realize to shift your debate strategy?
Well, towards the end, it was kind of like, it was slowing down a little, so I was like, we gotta just get some content in there. It's so cheap, but it's like, I'll say the N-word. I know we're all expecting it. I know that's what everybody wants to see. I was like, I'll fucking do it. I'll fucking do it again. I'll say it, and I'll throw, the other guy in there. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, we gotta do it for the content. It can't all just be like wholesome Chungus. My turn to talk. We had to throw some. None of them took the bait. I'm a little disappointed. I threw out Molignan. I threw out Shine. I was thinking someone's going to take the bait. They were all pretty disciplined.
I tried to. I shifted the questions to get more of debate because in the beginning it was too rhetorical and just everybody speaking like a classroom. So I changed the questions to be more provocative, and none of them really got angry. I mean, at one point you said the word faggot and the Asian girl just she closed her eyes and turned off her camera for a bit, but that was it. I mean, Isaac was the one. Isaac seemed like he was swinging a bit, but he seemed to agree with some of the stuff. Like where we see an overlap is a lot of the leftists agree with the pro-Palestine stuff. You're not really pro-Palestine, you're more anti-Israel, but there's not that much contention because they have to concede when it comes to Christianity because they can see that your morality comes from Christianity. They don't want to argue that, and their morality is subjective. So it kind of just reached a point where there's not much to disagree about.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the women aren't, they're not like gladiators. When you do a debate, you need gladiators that are going to go in and, freak out. And to my point about feminism, they were all so agreeable. It was hardly even contentious. It was civil and it was barely contentious. They were just kind of expressing disagreement, but like you said, not really making like a confrontational argument. So it is what it was. The questions were good. The questions you were throwing up, these like curveballs or softballs, I should say, to kind of get it going, but they were too nice. So, and I'm too nice. Everybody expects it. I think it's also because I'm handsome. I have Riz, and I come in, and if I was like Charlie Kirk and I was like little human being, maybe then it'd be easier for them to get angry. But when I come in, I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? They're like, we can't hate this guy. This is a nice guy. We don't, even when I'm saying the N-word, they're like, oh, stop, you're being bad. Don't say the N-word, Yeah. Like,
Nick,
so
I can just
helps.
say, you did great. I was a little underwhelmed as well. I thought that people were going to come with more shit. But Nick, I really do want to get you that girl. I want to try to convince her. I believe it was Noemi or something like that. I offered her $20,000. She still said no. She's just thinking that it's not going to do good. There's not going to be good out of it. I'm like, look, come on and try to change people's opinions. If you're so confident that you can in some way change people's opinions that watch, come do it. And you get $20,000. So I'm really trying to get somebody like that on here. But, also maybe even Parker or someone like that. I want to get you some, Parker was the guy feeding Dean information in his ear. I want to get you somebody. I want to get you somebody who actually can hold their own ground and at least come with something.
He doesn't know the lore. He brought up Destiny when our mics were muted, and I had to tell him about the Fresh and Fit debate and the whole lore and how many times, like, when you got unbanned on Twitter, the Twitter space, it's like it's been done. That debate's happened 100 times over the past couple of years, so we want something new. So open invite to challengers, and let's get it a little spicier next time.
I mean, Nick, I'm trying, man. A lot of people are running away, man. They don't want to fucking talk to you, bro.
I know. I've been trying I'm calling out the conservatives too. None of them want to do it. So yeah, I hear you, man. It's that's my struggle, if you will.
I will vouch.
Sort of like my struggle. It's very difficult.
Everyone watching, it's true. We've hit up so many people. Nobody wants to talk to him. Nobody wants to do it. Everyone's running away. They're like, oh, well, I don't know about that one. I got to check with my manager. Like, it's like nobody wants to just do it. So that's why I do respect Dean, because at least he came on. And at least, you and I actually had a great debate, in my opinion. So I'm trying, man. And look, I'm going to keep trying, but we'll figure it out.
I want to see Nick against conservatives. Adin was saying liberals, but Nick really wants to debate conservatives that...
You give me three. Give me three conservatives.
Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Candace?
Tommy Robinson. Give me Tommy Robinson. He's been calling me out.
He's not going to do it. He ran from Dan Bilzerian. Dan Bilzerian's not even a debater. Like, this guy's...
I'll call him out anyway. But him, Andrew Clavin, I debate him. Dennis Prager, any of these guys. They don't want to do it.
Try, man. It's tough. It's very tough. It's tougher than it looks. I mean, you would think that people would be down, but it's just so hard because people they're not wanting to do it with you, man.
True. Tail off and I'm being sanctioned. They're boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning me. It's sort of hypocritical. It's a little hypocritical, but yeah, no, but it was fun. I mean, we just got to find we got to find the Clash of the Titans, the Royal Rumble. We need like the WrestleMania main event. We need the belt. We need the ring belt. We need ladders. You know, this was baby match. This was like a regular, I don't even know. It was like a WWE Divas match.
The Destiny one's been done, though. It has been done.
Many times.
Okay.
A million times, yeah.
All right. I would love to get you Hassan. He would never do it, though.
He did it 5 years ago.
I would debate Hassan.
Well, what'd you think about the Keith Daniel debate?
It was good. Yeah, that was a good debate. But, you know, Daniel represents kind of like a unique position. He's like a third worldist, like Muslim or something. But, yeah, I thought Keith handled that easily. Keith Woods. But, yeah, I don't know. It's tough because I am super controversial. But I'd like to debate a conservative. So if there's any conservatives, that like mid-level conservatives, independent enough to do it, I'd debate any of them.
Trying to get it, man. It's tough. It's really, really tough.
Well, what about the E-Date?
We could definitely do that. I'll get you some good girls. We'll get you some good girls to go on an E-Date with you. That'd be fun.
Not like that OnlyFans mud shark. I mean, what the hell was that? She had her boobs hanging out the whole time.
Were those hickeys or veins? I couldn't tell what those bruises were. If those were like milk coming out, if she had hickeys all over. But yeah, as soon as she started plugging the OF, I'm like, we should just kick her out. But
that was crazy.
Everybody loves you, Nick. You wouldn't believe how many texts I'm getting. I love this guy, Nick. Nick's great. This guy's fucking amazing. It's an honor, man, to really talk to you, man. I know, look, like I said, man, you and I, you know, people of my, you know, race, nationality might have issues with you, but I like you. I really do. I think you're a very solid guy. You're a very solid individual. I really agree with a lot of the stuff you say. And it's great. You know, Nick, thank you for, again, I'm glad that you and I can come together and you know, make some cool, dope shit happen, bro. It's awesome.
Likewise, man. I love your stream. You're a good guy. You got a good heart. And I don't care what anybody says. You're one of the good ones. And it promotes mutual understanding. We're all American. That's what we want to promote. We love our country. We love God. We love each other. That's the message.
I see your Groypers. I like the Groypers, by the way. The AR Lows and the Groypers like each other. They're kind of similar in many ways. But I see them, and they're saying, you know what, Adin does seem good. And then somebody replies, always. And they're like, just wait. Just wait. He's going to turn. I want to just clear by saying that not all Jews are bad. My brother SNEAKO here is Jewish.
I'm not Jewish.
You are.
By definition, I'm not Jewish.
I will never turn on you, Nick Fuentes.
I will never turn on you either. I appreciate you. You're good. It's what it's about. We got to be good people, you know? So no hate, no discrimination. It's all love. Love speech. Love speech community, right?
Love speech, of course.
Well, look, Nick, I hope you have a great rest of your night. You let me know. Well, I'll coordinate with you when we want to do this E-Day. Or, again, if any conservatives, liberals, if anybody wants to challenge, come up and debate Nick. Let's do it. Everyone, come on. He's down to do anyone. You know, and the thing about Nick, I could vouch. Again, it could be like 1 hour before the debate. You're just ready to go. I really, that is crazy. Crazy. Okay.
Yeah, bring it on, man. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for a fun night. Great stream. You guys are the goats of Kick. W-Kick.
Oh, yeah, SNEAKO now, too. For sure. Thank you, Nick. Have a good night.
Wait, first, did you see what Eddie said about Nick, do you see what Eddie said about the last conversation? The CEO of Kick said something.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and I appreciated him saying that. You know, I'm not trying to get you guys on trouble. Even in this debate tonight, I was trying to be respectful of the expectations on Kick and trying to be appropriate. The thing is, as long as the rules are clear and articulated, I'm willing to follow any rules. The problem with social media, as always, is they don't even tell you what they ban for. It's totally convoluted. So, you know, I appreciate him, and I just want him to know I respect the platform. I'm not trying to be a punk and get everybody in trouble. I am who I am. I like to bring the content, but I'm trying to keep it respectful of the platform and not, you know, bring down the hammer on you guys, because you know how it is with cancel culture.
Hey,
so, I appreciated him saying that.
100%. Hey, chat, let's get Nick on Kick.
My first Kick stream coming up.
Wait, really?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe I'll do one. I got to get my username, though. Could you get me my username, and then I do one for sure.
100%, I'll get your username.
Sweet. Yeah, then I'll do it. I'll do a kick stream. I'll stream here every night.
Wow. Holy shit. Okay, let me get you that name and let me get you that verification.
Sweet. All right, let's do it. Yeah, I'd love to come on Kick.
Sounds good, man. All right, we'll be in touch. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Great.
All right.
Fuck you handing me this for?
It's your stream, buddy.
All right, Brett. All right, baby. What time you gonna lie tomorrow?
I don't know.
See us. Let me suck that cock.
Okay. All right.
Wait, what time you gonna lie tomorrow?
I don't know. You gonna hop on?
Hop on your stream?
Yeah.
Yeah. It depends what time.
What time works? Been in Toronto for a minute, man. I'm ready to go back.
I know.
You don't have to, dude. I can.
No, I'm obviously gonna be there
in the afternoon.
What time do you want to go live?
5 or 6. Ideally 8 is when I usually go live. But
Perfect. So I'll be there.
W cap. Dude, okay. Have a good stream, man. Cuffham's about to come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, chat. We're gonna have a sit down with Cuffham. Would you like to come on and sit with us while I talk to Cuffham? If you don't have to, if you want to go eat, go eat. Thank you for hosting the debate with me.
Okay. All right.
Where's my Jew lamp?
It's on the way. Did you see? I just got it shipped. They finished making the Jew lamp. Let me show chat.
Show the chat.
I got the Jew lamp made.
Hey.
It's looking good, huh?
Chat, how does it look? Does it look like me?
It does. So tomorrow, yeah, I don't know what to do. It's like going to be my first Kick stream. I was wondering if I should go live in New York, if I should start with the bang or...
No, do your first stream with me, please.
Please?
May you please?
Okay. Just keep it simple, huh?
Yes, keep it very, very simple. I'll be there. Promise. You have a friend in me. I promise.
W8, man.
Yeah, I want to show you something. I want to show you how you know you have a friend in me.
Is it going to be weird? All right, bro.
Look,
Okay.
I'm your friend. Trust me, SNEAKO.
That looks so untrustworthy.
How?
Bro, he looks like a Harry Potter goblin.
Come on, chat. Do I look trustworthy?
He looks like he's going to sell poison. He's trying to get me vaccinated. But how was your birthday overall? 3 days of partying nonstop?
Yeah, I'm still fucked up over it. I'll be good by tomorrow. Gym and all that stuff's gonna be good. But yeah, dude, partying is partying, man. It's fucking tough.
Yeah.
It's a lot of chat. You know about partying. Come on. But yeah, how much do you getting an hour? It's up. I mean, he's not gonna say it probably, but
No. Nope.
it's a good amount. Very good amount. And my boy SNEAKO's gonna be grinding. I would love to do a stream with you in New York, though. We should definitely do that thing where we go to people in Times Square closer to the election. Because listen, it's actually we have to be after the election. I'm gonna be in New York for the John Jones fight, so we should go around then.
Yeah, what's your schedule coming forward? If you want to go to New York and do...
I might, yeah. Well, I'll let you know more about it. I don't want to leak anything, but I have to eventually go to LA at some point.
What about the Middle East, Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, so...
Is that confirmed or no? 'Cause I'm not... When you say plans, I'm not sure how much I should be like, okay, that's confirmed.
Well, let me
or
mute
not.
and tell you why. I don't... But all right, so that's why it's up in the air now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chat, he didn't even say anything crazy.
I really didn't. I
didn't
I just
even-
don't want to leak anything. I don't want to leak anything because motherfuckers are weird and they're gonna just be weird. But we should do some type of like. Yeah, we'll talk about it. I have a good idea for what I want to do at the end of the month for trick or treatings. We should go trick or treating with a bunch of kids.
In Toronto?
Wherever.
Cool. But yeah. Bring Cuffham in? Yeah, sure. Fuck it, I'm out of here, bro. Kick.com/SNEAKO. Should be live tomorrow.
Pin his shit right now and let's.
No, no need. No, don't worry. Don't worry. Forget about it. I don't
Just
wanna,
pin his channel.
Don't.
Stop listening.
Actually, don't do that. Don't do that.
Why?
Because I want it to be. I don't want to be filled with AR loyals. I want love speech.
GGs. They didn't even do it right, Lico.
You didn't even put the good. You can't click it.
All right. Anyways, fine. Well.
All right, man. Have a good stream.
I want to give you a handshake. I want to teach you a handshake. Let me turn the camera off. So what you're gonna do?
This is a Freemason thing. What are you doing?
Give me your hand. Like that.
What is that?
Don't tell anyone how to do that. All right, we're good. Welcome to Kick.
The fuck was that?
Nothing. Welcome to Kick.
What did you just do?
Welcome to Kick. Everyone say welcome to Kick. You're on Kick now.
Did you just do some Freemason thing?
Never. I'm not a Freemason. Do I look like a Freemason?
What was that?
It was a handshake.
Why did you have to turn off the
It's
camera?
a secret handshake.